This audio is brought to you by Muslim Central. Please consider donating to help cover our running costs and future projects by visiting www.muslimcentral.com/donate.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. صدق الله العظيم. Firstly, brothers and sisters who are listening, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Guys who are married, put your hands up. Put your hands up high. Are you shy? And guys who are not married, put your hands up. And guys who never put your hands up, put your hands up. So there seems to be about a third of you from the men's side that are married, about 2/3 that are not married. And what we're sitting here for is to understand, Allah has said in the Holy Quran, وَذَكِّرْ فَإِنَّ الذِّكْرَى تَنْفَعُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Can you all hear me at the back there? Yes, clearly? You can hear me at the back there clearly? Yes? Okay. Allah has said, وَذَكِّرْ فَإِنَّ الذِّكْرَى تَنْفَعُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Give a reminder, for a reminder will benefit the believers. This is in Surah Al-Dhariyat, 51st Surah. Sometimes in Islam, you might have heard something before, but what you need is a reminder. And we all need it. We all need it. Right from the level of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam all the way down to the last believer, we all need it. That's why Allah gave the hukm first to His Prophet, said, وَذَكِّرْ. You give the reminder. And there are reminders for the Prophet in the Quran as well. There are reminders in the Prophet, for the Prophet. And in terms of the Prophet ﷺ relationship with his wives, there are reminders for him. You look at the beginning of Surah Al-Tahrim. You say, يَا أَيُّهَا النَّبِيِّ لِمَا تُحَرِّمُ مَا أَحَلَّ اللَّهُ لَكَ تَبْتَغِي مَرْضَاتَ أَزْوَاجِكَ. Allah admonishes, in a way, His Prophet and says, what happened is, two of his wives had a bit of a rivalry to get close to him. And one of them made a beverage that he had. Another one said that there seems to be a smell coming from your mouth when he visited her. The one that said that just didn't want him to go and drink in the other one's house. Do you understand? So then the Rasulullah thought, what, from my mouth is something that has got a bit of a smell. So he said, I'm not going to have that beverage again. And Allah said, oh Prophet, lima tuharrim, why are you prohibiting something which Allah has made permissible for yourself? Why are you doing this? And he had a reminder. He had a reminder in the Quran of what to do. And his wives had a reminder, if you look in Surah Al-Tahrim, of how they should behave in his household. Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So the reminder doesn't stop at any sort of person. It is from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam all the way down to the last believer. We need reminders. So this course is going to be a reminder for myself and for yourself about the things that we're about to get into, for the 2/3 of you, for the brothers. I don't know how many sisters. I'm sure there's going to be more sisters upstairs who are not married. Always is the case, isn't it? Guys, are you aware of that? Yeah? None of you are smiling. Maybe you've got secret wives somewhere. The thing is, the sisters upstairs, they're there, and they need to find their spouses. You downstairs, you need to find your spouses as well. But it's not just about finding one another, it's finding the right person. It's finding the right person. It's finding, like Allah has said, if you look in the Holy Quran, in Surah Furqan, verse number 74, Allah said, Rabbana, say this. وَالَّذِينَ يَقُولُونَ, those people who say this. Rabbana, O our Lord, hab lana min azwajin, give us spouses. Wa dhurriyatina, give us children. Hab lana min azwajina wa dhurriyatina. Qurrata a'yun, make our wives or make our husbands and make our children the coolness of our eyes. The coolness of our eyes. وَجَعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا, and make us the leaders of all those people who have your consciousness. Don't just make us people of your consciousness, make us the leaders of those people who are conscious of you. Now subhanAllah, what we're saying here is, oh Allah, give me a wife that will cool my eyes. Give me a husband that will who will cool my eyes. Keep my eyes cool. Cool in what way? Cool in two ways. One is you look at them, you admire them. Yep. MashaAllah. Yeah? But that admiring that you've got on the outside of MashaAllah, look how beautiful my wife is, look how beautiful my husband is, that admiring that you've got, it's got a limitation. It's got a limitation. You see this white beard here? Yeah, when I got married there wasn't a single white beard here, I guarantee you that. Otherwise my wife wouldn't have married me. I'm saying, she would have probably said, where's your passport? Let me see what your age is. If you think that that's the extent of marriage, then by Allah, I'm telling you, you've got it wrong. Because the coolness of the eyes goes beyond the face and the body. It goes into the inside. And it is more important to be cool and satisfied, your eyes, with what's on the inside than the outside. What's on the inside than the outside. And with the children as well, you think, children haven't come yet. You're getting married and you're saying, Rabbana hab lana min azwajina. Why are you saying that for? Because it depends on your spouse. Your spouse is going to be 50% perhaps of the genes inside your child. You're going to have 50%, she's going to have 50% of the genes or the effect of it. You'll see this. When your children get born, you'll see this. Some of your habits are going to be in your child. If you're stubborn and you see your child stubborn, you're going to say, hey, that's me, man. That's me. If you know, it's not just about looks. Okay, your wife is beautiful and you've got a beautiful child. That will also pass through. But what will pass through is your habits. Have you noticed that? Your habits will pass through. Kid is lazy. You ask the dad, what did you do when you were young? I was a bit, a bit of a rough kid. Hey, yes, well, that's your child. You see it. When I teach children, one of the first things I do is try and look at the parents. If the child is having difficulty in reading and he doesn't want to read, there's reasons. But you look at the father. You ask the father, what happened to you when you 30 years ago, 40 years ago, what happened to you? What was you doing? And they tell you a story. And you say, do you see any similarities between this one and that one? Between you and him? I'm not saying it all passes down, but there are things that will pass down. So the person you get married to, it's not just about the looks that will pass down to your children, it's about the inner habits that will pass down. And there's certain things in our genes, okay? Certain things in our genes that will pass down. Allah has created us all differently. You've got a woman who's very agile. That will pass down. That will go down. You've got a woman who's able to bear a lot of children. That will pass down. That's why Rasulullah ﷺ said what? Tazawwaju al-wadud al-walud. He said, get married to women who are loving, greatly caring. That's wadud. They've got that. And al-walud is what? Al-walud is they're able to give birth to a lot of children. فَإِنِّي أُكَاثِرْ بِكُمُ الْيَوْمِ الْأُمَمِ. Said, on the day of judgment I will be proud. On the day of judgment I will be proud at the sheer number of my ummah on that day. Now, brothers, why did Rasulullah ﷺ choose the qualities of these women that we should look for? Not just for women, it applies to men as well. You look at men. When a Sahabiya came to the Prophet ﷺ and she asked advice, she said, I want to get married to so and so. And it's a Sahih Hadith. What did Rasulullah ﷺ say? He said, as for this one, As for this one, لا يرفع عصاه عن عاتقه أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. He said, this person, he does not put down his stick that he has from his shoulder. He doesn't put it down. What did the Prophet ﷺ mean by that? That this guy is a wife beater. This guy is a wife beater. He beats people up, and you get married to him, you're going to get beaten up. And as for the other one, he said, فَصَعْلُوك. He said, he's really tight. So you get married to him, you're not going to really have a happy life. Now this is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You think about it. It is, what I want to mention here is that it is wajib. It is absolutely compulsory that when someone comes to you to seek advice of marriage for somebody else, that you have to be open about their character. It is wajib. It's a compulsion upon you that you declare things. You know something really bad about someone, and someone else has come to you for advice, and you don't say what's wrong with them. You are responsible in some way, because you had the opportunity to talk about the truth and you stayed silent. You can't do that. Marriage is a serious matter. Come on, this woman is what Allah said in the Holy Quran, وَالْوَالِدَاتِ يُرْضِعْنَ أَوْلَادَهُنَّ. Mothers should breastfeed their children. The women who have given birth to these children should breastfeed. Now listen to this. Allah didn't say zawjat. If Allah said wives should breastfeed, it's a different matter. Allah didn't say. He said women who've given birth to these children should breastfeed them, or women who are mothers, walidat. The quality of your wife will change. The quality of the husband will change. He'll become a walid. He'll become bearer of a child. You'll become a bearer of a child. He'll become a father. You'll become a mother. It's different. It's different when you're if you go back and if you just think about your young days, you're just a boy and she's just a girl. That's all it is. When you get married, you're a wife, you're a husband. When you have children, you're a mother and you're a father. The three are totally different. Don't think they're the same. Because when you're just a boy and a girl, what do they want to do? They want to date one another, right? Date one another. Let's try and get that girl, try and get that boy, me and her, ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding, right? Bollywood, right? You see all those movies. Tu meri, tu mera. That's it. What's that about? It's about a false life out there that does not exist. And it's about no responsibility. What's it about? It's about the most beautiful girl they can find in the whole of India, or from the top 100 most beautiful girls who are actresses in the whole of India, from the millions that exist there. They're going to show you her. And from the most handsome man they can find in India, they'll get him. Or from the 100 most handsome men. And basically the guy, he's got no worries, there's no children in between, and he's basically, going to sing to the extent he can to try and get his girl. And the girl sings to try and get his man. The same in these Hollywood movies. Marriage is not a movie. Marriage is not a fairy tale. Marriage is about responsibility. And why is some guy can say in this day and age, and I'll be straight with you, some guy can say, so what if I don't take any responsibility, I'm going to use contraception, I'm going to stay away from having any there's going to be no children between us, so we don't have any children, we've got no responsibility, I'll live in my flat, she lives in her flat, we'll get together whenever, we'll have a little cinema, we'll have a little whatever, cup of tea, Costa coffee, whatever, and we'll basically go around the merry-go-round whenever we want to, by night. And that's it. We use contraception. What's wrong with that? This is the day and age we're living in that people are doing this. They're doing this up until the 30, 40. Some people now have decided this is an age has come, they don't want to get married. Have you come across those people? Go on, put your hands up if you come across those people. Go on. Yeah, good. There's about almost 7, 8 of you. I've come across a lot of these people. They don't want to get married because they don't want responsibility. This age we're living in is an age of selfishness. It's a very, very selfish. You've got your own a phone, you got the internet, you got the technology, you got your own house, you pay your own bills, you look after yourself, you don't have to care for anyone. And you can literally take yourself in a flat or somewhere where you can just stay there and just cohabit, have another partner somewhere else where you stay with them and you don't have to get married. There are people who are like that, and this age is coming that there's going to be a lot more people who will start leading those lives. So they'll say, what's wrong with it? Well, what's wrong with it is, if you think about it, what's wrong with it is what? You've got a person who has seriously created what? He's created himself a life where he's taken no responsibility. He don't care for humans. That's one wrong thing. Allah has sent us here to look after others. Number two is what? Number two is, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, you can do what you want to try not to have a child. But the moment Allah has decreed for you to have a child, you can't stop it. When his eyes are rolling up high, and her eyes are rolling up high, and basically it's like they're on the next heaven, it's only a moment of seconds. That a child will be conceived. What's after that? Well, she finds out that she's pregnant. Oh my God, astaghfirullah. Astaghfirullah now. Astaghfirullah now. Next thing is, if they don't want to show that child, they'll go for abortion. This society here don't care about life. That is a life. You know, one of the big crimes is wa'dul banat, is to basically bury, in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's time they used to bury children, right, alive, yes, bury their daughters alive. All these aborted babies will be there on the day of judgment. They'll be there. And they'll be saying, where's my father, where's my mother? And they'll be saying, Allah, what crime did I do that I was in her womb and he's the one that slept with her? You decided that I get born, and after that they decided to throw me into a dustbin. Unwanted baby. That's what they call it. Unwanted. Aborted baby. What they should really say is, a murdered child. Because Allah used the word murder for it. You know, in this society you say unwanted baby, aborted baby. It doesn't make me feel anything, there's anything wrong. But can you imagine if you said murdered child, murdered baby, murdered fetus? If you said that, you know what I'm trying to say? Because Allah said, بِأَيِّ ذَنْبٍ قُتِلَتْ. For what sin was the child killed? Allah regards it as a severe crime. And they're going to have to see that on the Day of Judgment. This is a serious crime. If you think that you're here in this world and this is the extent of what you see is this world, then you can do what you want. Rasulullah said what? He said, إِذَا لَمْ تَسْتَحِي فَاصْنَعْ مَا شِئْتَ. Whatever you want to do, you can do when you've got no haya, no shame inside you. When you've lost shame, when you're not going to be embarrassed because people are going to question you. When you're going to be embarrassed, not going to be embarrassed because your parents are saying, what are you doing? When you're not embarrassed, there are people out there who have got, same-sex relationships. They're not embarrassed. Allah Rasul says, "Fasna ma shi'ta." You might as well do what you want. There are people out there. You've heard. I'm not here to, right? I'm not here to sort of say things that are, these people. Look, we can get on with them. Right? I need to say this point since it's come up. Yeah. If Allah has said to me that if my parents become, or they happen to be Hindus, Allah said in the Holy Quran, Surah Al-Luqman, verse number 15, He said, وَإِن جَاهَدَاكَ عَلَىٰ أَن تُشْرِكَ وَإِن جَاهَدَاكَ عَلَىٰ أَن تُشْرِكَ بِمَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٍ فَلَا تُطِعْهُمَا وَصَاحِبْهُمَا فِي الدُّنْيَا مَعْرُوفًا. If your parents as Hindus try and make you commit shirk, don't obey them in shirk, but make sure that you stay in a good companionship with them. Your companionship, your good manners, your good conduct has to be with them. If Allah has said that about Hindus, Hindu parents of mine, I have to be good to them, but I'm not going to obey the shirk. I'm telling you now that we don't have to accept the concept of being gay. We don't have to accept that. We'll be against it in our hearts, just like we don't accept shirk, we don't accept polytheism as Muslims. But we will have a good conduct towards them. Do you understand? We'll have a good, if Allah has said the worst of all people are those who commit shirk. The worst of all people. Surah An-Nisa verse number 116. Inna Allah la yaghfiru an yushraka bih wa yaghfiru ma duna dhalika liman yasha. So if Allah has said that, then I can still have a good conduct towards those people who are of same-sex marriages. But I'm not going to accept the concept. I'm not going to accept the concept. I have the right of that, to hold that as my belief. And that's what we should teach in our schools. So what I'm trying to say is, people can do what they want. But Rasulullah said what? That if you've lost haya, you know this embarrassment, oh my God, if he finds out what I'm doing, oh my God, the culture, not just the culture, but the society, or my religion, or my people, or just myself. If you lose that haya, my parents, my friends, my children, if they see me do this, if they know me doing this, then how will I feel? If you lose that embarrassment inside you, Rasulullah said, you've reached a stage that you can do what you like. That's a barrier Allah has kept in your heart. If you keep that haya inside you, Rasulullah said, wal haya'u shu'batun min al-iman. Both these hadiths are from Bukhari. Wal haya'u shu'batun min al-iman. Haya and having shame inside, that feeling of shame and embarrassment is part of a branch of iman. There is the akhirah, there is the dunya. If you're getting married for this dunya, you're going to look at her looks, his looks. You will have no consideration about whether you get married or you don't get married. If you consider the akhirah, you have got shahwa inside you. You've got desires inside you. You need to control those desires. You're a man, you're a woman. You will look. You will have passion, desires. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said, Ya ma'ashara shabab, those of you who are young. So those of you who can get married, you're young, you can get married. Man istata'a minkum al-ba' falyatazawwaj. Get married. If you can't get married, fast. Control yourselves. If you can get married, it will save you. It will make you lower your gaze better. It will help you to protect your private parts better. It's a means of doing that. Now, why was Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam telling us this? Why was he encouraging us? Because there are serious consequences of getting to the next world and not being married, and as a result, losing one's faith. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said in one hadith that when the person who's committing fornication or adultery is committing it, his iman comes out of his body, hovers on top. Both the imans come out, it will hover on top. And then when they've completed their act, it will come back into their bodies. Can you imagine how serious this is? That they've lost faith. They've lost faith in Allah for a while because they're fornicating, because they're committing adultery. If a person believes, and I'm saying this very clearly, if a person believes that they can become like, I don't know, some of you heard, probably, I don't watch this, but I've heard of it, that on EastEnders there's this gay character. You've heard of that guy? Yeah? If you haven't, well, you've heard of him now. And he's supposed to be Muslim. Right? They're promoting this. Now, I've told you just before the thing, we won't hate the person, but we will hate the act. Let's make that very clear. If there are two people dating, they're Muslims, they're dating, they're not married, we won't hate them, we will hate the act. If there are two people who are committing a crime, we don't have to hate them, we will hate the crime. The same way is with all these people out there in this savage society of selfishness. We hate selfishness. As Muslims, we are not selfish. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has promoted between ourselves cooperation. Ta'awanu 'ala al-birri wat-taqwa. The third verse of Surah Ma'idah. Get together, help each other. Or the second verse rather of Surah Ma'idah. Help each other. Get together. On what? Promote what? Goodness, virtue, get together. Allah has said in various places of the Quran, you must be together. Allah has called us zawj. Now when you're a young person, and you're growing up and you want to get married, even when you get married, Allah has called you a half. You are a half. Whether you're a man or a woman, you're a half. Why has Allah said that? Adam alayhi salam in Jannah, he was sitting down and he felt there's something missing in his life. He wasn't fully happy with all of Jannah. And from his rib was created Hawa. This is in the Sahih Hadith. And then he found his sukoon. Allah has said in the Holy Quran, in Surah number 30, Surah Ankabut, verse number 21. He said, لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا, so that you may find tranquility, calmness by staying with her. And the same applies to the woman, so that the woman may find tranquility with the man. Allah has said in the Holy Quran, وَالْمُحْصَنَاتُ مِنَ النِّسَاءِ, He has said those women who have entered the fortress. What does that mean? That the women who get married, women who will show their dignity and their pride and their honor in what? In securing themselves with yourself as a husband inside one fortress. And you will do the same thing. You are muhsineen. Allah has called you muhsineen. In Surah Nisa, Allah has called you muhsineen as men. Allah has called them muhsanat. That you have taken yourself in a fortress, she's taken herself in a fortress. You are together, bound together. And this nikah is a promise. It's a contract. It's a contract in front of Allah. Though you're not signing anything, you don't have to sign anything, but your word, the Muslim's tongue, is going to be held responsible on the Day of Judgment. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, he said to Sayyidina Jabir radiallahu anhu, who said, Messenger of Allah, you said so many words. Once he said so many words, give me something really easy for me to hold all of this. He said, shall I tell you something? He said, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, you've asked me something great, but it's very easy for whoever Allah wants to make it easy for. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam took his own tongue. And do this with me. Go on. It's your own tongue, man. Come on, touch your tongue, geezer. Yeah. And now let go. You know why he made you do that? Because he made Sayyidina Jabir do that. And Sayyidina Jabir and others, when they would narrate it, they would make them do that because it's a tradition. You'll remember this, part of this, you'll forget other things I've said, but you remember that I made you touch your tongue and it's that bitterness on your finger. He said, hold on to this. Hold on to it. It's a Messenger of Allah. If I just hold on to my tongue, I'm able to do so many things that you just said. He said, Sakilatka, sorry, it was not Jabir, it was Sayyidina Muaz. He said, Sakilatka ummuka ya Muaz. He said, oh Muaz, may your mother be bereaved of you. وَهَلْ يَكُبُ النَّاسِ, is there any other reason why people enter into hellfire except that they never took control of their tongues? That on the Day of Judgment, because of their tongues, they will be going headlong into the fire. Or he said, nose first into the fire. Now when you're getting married, you're saying, nakahtuha, qabiltuha. She said, nakahtuhu, qabiltuhu. I have got married to him, I've got married to her. You're saying this. This is the tongue. Allah says, wattaqullah. Now Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he would make a nikah, perform nikah, he used to read 3 verses. He used to recite 3 verses. The 3 verses, number 1 is the first ayah of Surah An-Nisa. And in there Allah says twice, ittaqu, be conscious, be aware of me. Wattaqullah, wattaqun nas. He says, ittaqu ya ayyuhan nasu ittaqu rabbakum, or he says wattaqullah. Why is Allah saying be aware of me, be aware of me? Because Allah says you're only getting married through my permission. My permission. I gave you this right to get married. If I never gave you the chance to get married, you'd be sitting home. Have you come across brothers and sisters sitting home, proposal after proposal after proposal? Have you come across that? You know, there's some girls really beautiful, there's some guys who are really handsome, but they just can't get married. Have you come across that? Nod your heads, guys, come on. Yep. Why? It's not the qadr of Allah. It's not the qadr of Allah. And it doesn't matter how you think you look, because your girl is written for you. I tell people this. I say, you know, when a fisherman goes early in the morning and he takes his rod and he throws it into the lake, and he's sitting there nice and quietly waiting for that fish to take the bait. It's not him, it's not the fisherman that caught the fish. It's not the fisherman that caught the fish, but it's the fish that came and took the bait. Yes or no? Allah guides that fish to that bait. Allah makes that fish take that bait. Allah makes that fisherman be the owner of that fish and take it home. The same way you can be who you want. You can be the most sorted guy. I've known guys here. You know, you look at them, man. You know, you can, guy's got some class, man. You know the guy, the way the guy's gonna walk. You know, he trimmed beard, he's got the looks, got the brand names. You think, man, that guy's not going to have no problems getting married. But those guys end up getting 29 and 30, 31, 32 sometimes. They first start off, nice girls come to say, And sometimes it happens with girls. I know some girls who in their 20s had very good chances of getting married. And they just, for one reason or for another, you know why? Because the list of getting married, the list of what they want, is a massive list. They want the guy to be educated, yeah? And sometimes, you know, the list is not just their list, it's their list, and it plus is the parents' list, and plus a bit of granddad's list, yeah? It's all combined together. You know what I'm saying? Like, so the granddad says, the putter has to know a bit of Quran, right? So then the mother will say, you know, he better have some, you know, he better have a good job, yeah? The dad's going to say, yeah, he better have a good character, or he might have to have this. And then the family will throw things in. He has to be from Gujranwala. He has to be from Sylhet, right? They throw this inside. So that's already on the list before before even she's got to the list. So what's her list now? Her list is, he's got to be good looking, handsome, he's got to do things for me, he's better start, you know, if I tell him to, you know, he better allow me to go and chill out and this and that, and he better be my type of character, you know, me and him get on, like, you know what I'm saying, like, yeah? So they've got all this list, yeah? The guy comes and obviously he falls short of one of them. He's going to fall short. Maybe he's a Sylheti. Maybe he's a Punjabi. He comes and then he didn't have the right, you know, you had the BA, but, you know, what's he got a BA in, you know, he's not an architect, he's not a doctor, he's not even an accountant, you know, he's got a BA in some genealogy or something like that, and nah, we don't like that, right? Someone's going to say that. Right? Her list is going to be, well, you know, my mum's not happy, my dad's not happy, my granddad's not happy, okay, out. What happens eventually is, they start getting desperate. After 4 and 5 years of this, when they were on the high, you know, the high horse, yeah? After 4 or 5 years, they start getting desperate. And when they get desperate, you know what happens in the end? Her list goes down to this. Has he got 2 eyes? Yes, tick. Has he got 2 legs? Yes. That's it, he's good enough to get married. 2 eyes, 2 legs, that's fine. I don't need anything else. I'm telling you, the mother will agree, the father will agree, the granddad will say, doesn't matter, whatever, get her married, he's in India, Pakistan, whatever, Bangladesh, get her married. They don't care, because then it's too late. But sometimes, then what happens is what? Prospects will come, proposals will come, and then it's like, the first question is, how old is she? How old is he? Well, she's 32. 32, she's good looking, 32, she's not married. There must be something wrong. There must be something wrong. Why did no one take this girl? Why did no one take this boy? Have you guys come across that, yes or no? Yeah? You're all nodding your heads. You're all nodding your heads, and I'm nodding my head too. Why? Because people are too picky, too choosy. The thing in marriage is, if you want the perfect man, or if you want the perfect woman, then I know one place to go and get the perfect man and the perfect woman. That place is called Jannah. You know, you heard of Jannah, paradise? Yeah? You know what I'm talking about? And if you want even better ones, go to Jannah to Firdaus. Yeah? You'll find the best, most pure people that never done anything wrong. Now my friend, you are not perfect. Or are you trying to tell me that you are perfect? Because if you're perfect, then you shouldn't be in this world. Even Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he got married, do you know that Sayyidatuna Aisha radiallahu anha, number of occasions she complained. She had issues with him. One hadith he says she went to her father's house. Rasulullah said, okay, if you got issues with me, I'll take you to your father's house. Who's her father? Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. So he said, okay, so look at our Prophet. He said, okay, I'll go to your father. So he goes to the father's house, her father's house, his, father-in-law's house. He goes in there and he says, your daughter has said this about me. Sayyidina Abu Bakr is looking for the stick. And then what does Sayyidatuna Aisha do? She hides behind the Prophet ﷺ. She hides behind him. She came to complain about him and then she hides behind him. Now don't tell me If the Prophet ﷺ, if in his own house, his own wives, and I'm not just talking about wives, there were men who had problems, okay, let me not make it biased here. There are men who, a woman came to the Prophet ﷺ and she complained, and many women came, not women, many came to complain about their husbands. And the thing is, complaints will be there until the Day of Judgment. It's not about them complaining, it's about how you deal with the complaints. It's about how you deal with complaints. And the first fact is, I'm not perfect. So when Allah has given me an opportunity for a person, I'm not going to look too deep. I'm not going to have a long list. If I do, I'm shooting myself in the foot. Because no one's perfect. Don't look too deep. The deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper you look, you're going to basically find something that you're not going to like, and then you're going to pull out. And maybe perhaps if you lived with that person, you could have lived a whole life with harmony. But don't also do the other thing. You know what most of our cultures do? Is that they do a 10-minute sitting. 10-minute sitting. So basically, they'll basically buy the sari, or they'll buy some good nice shalwar kameez, and they'll go all the way with £100 worth of ambala. How many people in the house? 4. How many days will it take them to eat this? 400. They'll probably die of diabetes by the time they finish it. Why are you buying it? Oh, izzot. my dignity, my pride. So anyway, put that aside. They've started off on the wrong foot. You don't buy £100 of laddu, my friend, because you'll be a daddu if you do that. So you've done that, you've gone there, you've wasted £100. They're going to throw in part of it in the bin. It's going to go in the bin because they won't be able to distribute it amongst even their family. Part of it's going to go in the bin. It happens. And don't tell me it doesn't happen. Now, they've started off, they'll bring all these things, and then, yes, and they'll all be formal, and you sit down there, and, it's like, who's the big man here? And they have some kind of guy called the wakil or the ukil. Right? This is the Asian typical way of most of them looking for a marriage. So some guy's going to be the mediator in between the middle, or the one who's been the representative. So, are you okay? Yes, he'll give you a cup of tea and give all the food, and they'll cook you 7 curries and whatever else it is. And then after all of that, when they've had the chat, the main chat is between the two families. So the two families are trying to get to know one another about the bride and about the groom, or the proposed bride and groom. But the actual bride and groom, they leave them in the room, or they get them just to see each other for no more than about 10 minutes. Put your hands up if I'm telling you the right thing. Put your hands up. Yep. Anyone else know anything different from you? Maybe half an hour, maybe 1 hour, right? Now you tell me, guys, you tell me this, it's a serious relationship. You cannot take this woman and dump her tomorrow. You can't take this man and complain to your father tomorrow and say, I don't want to be with him. When we have an interview, right, when you've got a big company, serious company that's going to make a chief executive in their place, are they going to see the guy for 10 minutes? Tell me, give me an answer. Are they going to see him for 10 minutes? No. Are they going to just look at his face and say, Assalamu alaikum. Please talk. 6 minutes left. And by the time she's opened her mouth, it's over. And he's going to judge her by what? Her face. Just her face. And she's going to judge him by his face. Absolutely awful. I don't care how many people have accepted this and done this, it's wrong. Okay, fine, certain cultures, they might do it, and I'm not going to sit here and start giving you fatwas about other cultures there. But here in England, the amount of marriages that are in problems, because the first thing that went wrong is the way they met each other. They never got a chance to know each other. There's nothing wrong in getting to know your wife through a mahram. So basically, for you to go to that house, for you to sit down, for you to then get to actually talk to her properly, she talks to you properly, with the presence of a blood-related person to her who will stop loose talk. Okay, so it's got to be an elder brother of hers, it's got to be, or someone who's a brother that will stop loose talk, or a father, or someone who will stop the loose talk. So he will be too embarrassed to say something wrong in front of her. Right? If that happens, then he can have as many sessions as he wants, and she can have as many sessions. And there needs to be certain things that they need to start asking. They must do this. Come on, ask about ambitions, ask about what you want to do in life, ask about, how you want to live together, ask about what character it is that you got to know about. Because if you don't find about these things, what do you want to do? Wake up tomorrow and start to find out that the beast inside this beautiful woman? That she basically is sleeping through the whole of Fajr, and you're basically trying to wake her up, but you're still there till Dhuhr? And you wanted your paratha in the morning, and you basically got some baked beans in the afternoon? Right? I mean, come on. Let's face it. If you really want your paratha, if you really fussed about your breakfast, some men are fussed about their food. Some women are fussed about their luxuries. Let's put it straight. If you're fussed about something, bring it up in the first instance. If you're not fussed about it, say, I'm not fussed about this. But if you really, some men, they may say they don't like a woman because of a simple thing. And some woman might say that. And if it's because of that, please explore these things in a mutual agreement with the mahram there. I'm not saying without the mahram. Don't go to the other extreme. The other extreme of, going there and somehow to get her phone number off her. Somehow to get his number off him, right? And then what's the next step? The next step is, take the phone out and no one see me. I just text her what I want. Facebook, I can see her, I can follow her. And some of this, I've come across some of this. I'm telling you right now, the dangerous thing that you can do is that when there's a boy and a girl and they're trying to get to know each other, whether it's from the day number one, or whether it's in between somewhere while the talks are going on, or whether it's near the end when they've just said, okay, we're now saying that they're serious about the actual, marriage. Whatever the case is, as soon as they start exchanging numbers before marriage, the one in between them is shaitan. Hadith of Abu Dawud, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, لا يخلو رجل بامرأة إلا الشيطان ثالثهما. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, no man will get together in secrecy with another woman except that the third will be the shaitan amongst them. So he'll start very innocently, emails and whatever. You'll start very innocently, I just want to get to know you a bit more. Oh yeah, I'd like to get to know you a bit more. Are you practicing sister? Yes. Are you practicing brother? Yes. And it carries on. Next minute the guy's heart is pounding, boom, boom, boom. And she's doing the same thing. She can't sleep at night, And they're basically texting each other till 1 o'clock in the morning, emailing each other, Facebook, whatever, they're just in love and they're, all that. Tu meri, tu. And what's between them? The shaitan. The shaitan is between them. Can you imagine what happens if they actually don't get married to each other right now? Something happens, what can go wrong? It's so silly, this society that we live in is so silly, yeah? She wants to get married to him and he wants to get married to her. And what happens in between? The shaitan comes in so different. It can come in so many ways. He don't have to come to you direct. He might go to your dad and another one might go to her dad. And you know how they break up the marriage? They finally sit down. They're going to get married. They're going to think about, the whole posse. It's like 2 mafia crowds are there, right? The whole room's all, tensed up. Right? You can just see the bosses of the mafia group are there, right? My daughter. He says, my son. He says, my daughter wants 50,000 pound cabin and mahar. And he says, he says, 5,000 pound. My daughter so cheap. My daughter cheap. And the guy basically starts off a fight over the mahar. I'm telling you, it happens so many times. Over the mahar. Now you Jesus, man, that you put your daughter and your son, poor guys, they want to get married. They don't care. In most cases, in this country, when there's a practicing girl and a practicing boy, they're happy with £100 mahar. They're happy with £1,000 mahar and some gold on top. They're happy with, minimal whatever. They're happy with that. The boy and the girl are saying that. They're shouting out loud. They're saying, hey, zip up. You, my daughter, you're not so cheap. And they're basically fighting over how much to put down because the society has to hear how much he gave his daughter away for. He could start off with gifts, sometimes start with gifts. So they sit at the table, it's like, okay, 2,000 and half a house, and plus a Honda, and this, and Panasonic, and this, and that, and a new kitchen, and blah blah blah. And the other one will say, okay, cut this off and cut that off, and then there's a big massive argument starts. Shaitan can come in so many ways. So the process of this first is that people need to get their niyyah right. People need to get their intentions right. Now if I now look at if you just look at your notes, okay, look at the first part, look at actually you've got the contents there, look at page number 4. Sorry, page number 1, and slide number 4. Page number 1, slide number 4. You'll see there what is marriage. And then now the technical thing of marriage is there, I'm not going to go over that. But look, it says here, in surah number 4, verse number 3, obey Allah. To obey Allah is the reason why you're getting married. To gain serenity, to procreate, to have children. These are the reasons why a person is getting married. Now turn over to the next slide. Slide number 5. Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu was asked, what is marriage? And he gave this answer. He said, sururu shahrn. Then he said, what's after that? He said, ghumumu dahrin. What's after that? Kusuru dhahrin. What's after that? Nuzulu qabrin. Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu said, the first thing is a month worth of happiness. Now some guys don't have a month worth of happiness, they have a year's worth of happiness. MashaAllah, alhamdulillah. And some guys don't have a month worth of happiness, they have a night worth of happiness. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Yeah, let's be honest. But he said, just to rhyme it, he said a month worth of happiness. What that means is, it's a happiness that does not last forever. That thing that she's dreaming of, that thing he's dreaming of, that's not going to last forever and forever. Okay? He said what is after that? He said a lifetime's worth of responsibility or worry. Ghumumu darin. That's what marriage is about. Come on, we've all got mothers and fathers, yes? How many of our mothers and fathers are still like, I'm so happy with you, I'm so happy with you? How many of our mothers and fathers, uncles and aunts, all are doing that? When responsibility comes over you, you ain't got no time to think about the beginning stage of marriage. What shaitan makes most people think of is the first stage of marriage, and he makes them imagine that that's going to last for their entire life. And the biggest mistake for most people is to fall in that trap of the shaitan. Marriage, the happiness and the blissful of marriage, of being with her and her being with him, is only for a little moment. Few nights, at the most a year, at the very, very, very most 2 years, or 3 years. How many are you going to put onto that? But after that, it's now down to reality and its responsibility. Sayyidina Ali said, after that, what's after that? Kusuru dhahrin. He said, your back will start to get bent. Meaning that old age will come. And then he said, nuzulu qabrin, the last thing, you will have to go to the grave. Now why did Sayyidina Ali say that? He directed the whole thing of marriage towards the akhirah. Towards the akhirah. If a person thinks about it, if you have a good woman who's righteous, who's pious, what did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say in a hadith of Muslim? He said, "Ad-dunya kulluha mata'." The whole world is a place of ownership and assets and things that belong to you. And the best belonging, the greatest belonging that a man can have is al-mar'atu salihah, a pious, righteous woman. If you've got a righteous woman, let me tell you the story of a righteous woman, yeah? And alhamdulillah, mashallah, some of us have ended up with mothers who are righteous, some of us have ended up with wives who are righteous. If you've got a righteous wife, alhamdulillah, there's nothing more peaceful than having a righteous wife. Because she will look after you when you're inside the house. She will look after your affairs inside the house. She will look after your affairs when you're outside the house. She will protect your own dignity behind your back. حَافِظَاتٌ لِلْغَيْبِ بِمَا حَفِظَ اللَّهِ. Allah said in surah number 4, verse number 34. That these are فَالصَّالِحَاتِ قَانِتَاتِ حَافِظَاتٌ لِلْغَيْبِ بِمَا حَفِظَ اللَّهِ. There are people who are, there are women who are forbearing, women who are steadfast, women who will protect the right and ownership and honor of their husbands behind their backs. This is the greatest thing you can have. To know that I'm outside the house, and that my wife will still be looking after my honor behind my back. No man is going to enter my house. No man is going to enter my house without my permission. No person will sit in my house gossiping with my wife, backbiting me in my own house about me while I'm outside the house. This is the greatest serenity, the calmness you can have. And the woman, if she ends up with a salih husband, she will know she doesn't have to worry about her husband going out and looking for other women or dating or being with other women behind her back. Now, this thing about polygamy, might as well discuss it, it's come up. Now, you know these notes, I make notes, but you know what, if I go through all these notes one by one, as it's all written, the way I thought of it when I sat down, it's not gonna happen. The reason why, because I like to have eye contact with you. The moment we start looking at notes, I'll look at it inshallah, we'll check what we've missed out on, we'll try and get it all finished. But the moment we lose eye contact, we lose a large part of this whole course, the engagement that we're supposed to have with one another. Now, about polygamy. If a man is going to decide to get another wife, I would not suggest to you, I will really tell you as my akhir, my brother, please consult your wife or talk to her first. Get her agreement. In most cases, not in all cases, in most cases when men have done or have had another marriage without the consent of the first wife, and the first wife after that finds out and she holds a British passport, I have to add that on, yeah? She's got a British passport, you have got British bombshells in your house. You're going to have fireworks in your house. It's going to be November the 5th and you're Guy Fawkes. You're going to be roasted in your house. There's going to be a lot of things. I mean, there's guys who've lost their honor, their dignity, their trust. The biggest thing that, if you lose this one thing, the whole marriage is over. If you lose trust, and listen to me carefully, if you lose trust, the marriage is over, or almost over, or the marriage is damaged so badly that you can't fix it. Trust is key to any relationship. If you were to ask her, tell her, consult her, whatever the case is, and then you went ahead by her knowing and so on, trust is still there. But if you do it without her knowing and then she finds out, it's betrayal. And what then happens is, there's hatred. There's hatred that comes in because the trust has been broken. My brothers and my sisters, and sisters as well, please. There's cases that I've come across. There's hundreds of cases. If I tell you the cases, la ilaha illallah. Now there's cases that I know of there's some serious cases. A brother turned up one day in my masjid after Dhuhr prayer. And I basically, opened the door for him and he looked absolutely in tatters. And I looked at him, I brought him inside the masjid. I said, brother, are you okay? He said, no. I said, what happened to you? So he told me a story. For the last 3 days, he hasn't had hardly any sleep. He's hitchhiked from Birmingham to London. This was in 99 or something, 1999 when this happened. He hitchhiked from Birmingham to London, to my masjid in North London, in Whiteman Road. And I said to him, brother, what happened? And he said, he had a beautiful marriage. And him and his wife, they've been together for several years. He used to go out to work, she used to be in the house. Everything was fine. They had a mortgage, they had bills paying together, they had a joint account bank and all of that. One day he came home. He opened his door, he walked inside, the whole place was emptied out. There's no furniture in the whole house. Nothing. No sofas, no beds, no TV, no nothing, the whole thing ripped out or taken. So he went to he couldn't believe, he's trying to ring his wife's not picking up, his wife's not home. Could you imagine what's going through this guy's head? He then knocks on his neighbors and says, how come that my furniture is not in my house? They said, we saw a lorry, big truck that came and your wife was there with another man and they basically offloaded everything from your house. He thought, what? He went to his bank, he tried to take some money out, he had £12,000 between him and his wife, the whole 12,000 was taken, withdrawn. His wife just ended up with another man, gone. And he didn't even have the money to get down to London. That's how bad it was. So I gave him some money for him to eat and so on. And he went to his sister's house somewhere in Finsbury Park, wherever. And that was the case. Now, there are horrible cases. There are horrible cases when people, I don't know what happened. I didn't get into the details of what happens. Look, people come to me with marital problems. You know the amount of marital problems, things I get. The one thing that I tell them, I'm going to tell you now is, if anyone comes to me with marital problems, even today, I'm going to tell you, please consult your local imam. You know why I'm going to say that? Because me alone and the Mawlanas in the area alone, with all the different cases that come to them, we can't deal with them. There's just too much. We won't be able to do our own work. And some of the cases, you know what it is? You go deep inside and you either find out that it was an arranged marriage, or you find out that they never got to know each other before marriage, or you find out that they did get to know each other somehow, but most of the cases I know, they got to know each other before marriage. Most of those marriages are fine. I'm telling you this as an imam. Most of the marriages that the couple got to know each other properly in the presence of a mahram before marriage, the marriage, most of them are fine. Yes, some of them still have ups and downs, and some of them break up still, but not in comparison to the ones that are totally arranged. The ones that are arranged, especially if there is forced marriages, forget it. That's zulm. That is something that shouldn't have happened. That is something that the father, the mother, and the whole clan or whoever was there are responsible on the Day of Judgment. You force a girl into marriage by making her, put pressure on her. There's different types of force. One is physical force. Get a knife and put it to her throat. That has happened. They take her back home. We take you for a nice holiday. Shazia ji, a holiday ke liye jana hai na. She goes for a holiday. She gets over there. And this has happened to hundreds of girls, hundreds of them. Perhaps in the thousands. I dealt with a case here in Luton 12 years ago. 2 sisters were taken. They got my number somehow. I came all the way over to Luton and I saw them. And what was their case? They were taken for a holiday. 2 sisters. And when they got over there, next thing they found, their passports are gone. They're put into a room, and within moments they were told, right, in a room with all the sisters around them, you better say you're going to accept your cousin in marriage. So what? My cousin? What? And you can kick as much Britishness as you want, right? These are Pakistanis dealing with you, bro or sister. These are Bangladeshis going to deal with you. There's no, the only time you're going to get your right is to go to the embassy. It's horrible. Within hours, they forced them. And the amount of pressure they put on them. They said, one of them said that there was a knife that was shown. That it's going to get really serious if you don't say yes. And then after that, they just had to agree. They were told that if you get married, then you're going to go back to England. If you don't get married, if you don't say the if you don't accept the words, then you're not going to see England again. So they had to do that to get the parcels back. One of them told me how she basically really hit the guy on the first night. And I give credit to her. She beat the guy up on the first night. She scratched him good and bad. Yeah? But what happened is, they got to the embassy, they came back, and they were filing now for them not to come over. And they were in a crisis, an ordeal. I mean, how can fathers do that to their daughters? Just because, you know what happens? And I think this is a serious crime. The girl is born, the boy is born, and they're only what? They're infants. They're children. And the guy looks at his I don't know, cousin or something, and he says, 21 years time, your daughter and my son. And they shake hands on it. Now these 2 babies haven't even grown up yet. You don't know what character they're going to have. You don't know what faces they're going to have. And they made an agreement, and this happens. Let's not try and not talk about it. Yep. And I want people to put an end to this, because it's a crime where people will end up on the Day of Judgment with serious questions by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with what they did. What is that girl going to do with that husband that she never wanted to get married to? Okay, she has a kid. She hates the kid. Kids grow up. She hates the husband. Arguments every single day. I know this because I've gone into these houses. I've sat there for hours. And what the problem was, either a forced marriage, an arranged marriage. I'm not saying all arranged marriages are bad. No, please don't get me wrong. Some arranged marriages, they work out. I know some arranged marriages with a 10-minute sitting. 10-minute sitting they had, they looked at each other, they said, okay, fine, yeah, we'll accept each other. They got married. And some of them have worked out, and they do work out. And please don't get me wrong. But for the British culture, for the British, because we're different. Guys, we're different. We're a different breed. We're a people with independence, with an independent mind. We have a certain type of mind. If you're thinking of going back home and you get married, and if you seriously want a wife to come home and to do your things that now your mother did it, yeah, just cooking, cleaning, whatever, and a bit of running around, and you're ready to take up the responsibility of every time she needs a doctor, you're going to basically be there to be her interpreter. She's never going to learn English. Or she'll learn some of it. Now they've changed the law a bit. She has to learn some of it. But I know women who've come here for 20 years, they haven't even learned a single word of English, and they're proud of it. Bengali, Punjabi, they're proud of it. Right? I know that. And can you imagine, somebody said this to me once, right? And it's true. You think, if you imagine, right, an Englishman or an English woman goes to Bangladesh for 20 years. And imagine after 20 years they don't learn a word of Bengali. What are you going to say to them? Fagol. Bagale. 20 years they never learn your language. I mean, there's people who are proud like that. Now, if you're happy with that, if you're happy to run around for her every single time, she needs you. Anything wrong in your house with the children, with your wife, with any appointments, with anything you need to do with them, she's going to call you. If you're happy with that, but she's cooking, cleaning, everything, she's cooking you 5 curries, whatever, yeah. If she had permission to do sujood, she'll do that as well. Yeah, if you're happy with that kind of thing, yeah, I'm not saying they're all like that, but fine, get married. But if you want to have a wife that understands you, there's a big difference, because the way we're born and brought up, it has a big effect on your whole mind and mentality. Back home, like I've got certain employees, okay, I've got certain employees that are from back home, and I've got certain employees, and most of my employees are from here. Now, those employees that are from here, I can be straightforward with them. I say, listen man, what are you doing here, man? What are you doing? Stop doing that. Takes me 30 seconds to get the message across. Well, the guy who's back home, I have to say, I'm going to say something to you. I hope you're not going to mind. No. Well, and you have to put the cushion after cushion after cushion, you have to put a nice big introduction before you give this much of a message. And it takes me half an hour to get the message across. There's a different mentality. And if you do it the other way around, you're going to upset them. And if they get upset, that's it, you've broken your relationship. Now with your wife from back home, there's going to be different way we have to deal with her, talk with her. She will have different emotions. She'll have different emotions. She won't know how to relate to you. And when you have kids who are British and she's from back home, she can't fully relate to them. She's never gone through the British system. She's never known how is it to grow up in a school where you see women women and men around you, and your boys and girls sitting next to each other. Most of us have been through this. She doesn't know what it is to get into a school where you have feelings for another person, but you must still, because your ustads in the maktab or the madrasa are telling you to try and control your gaze. She doesn't know that. She doesn't know about technology. She doesn't know any of this stuff. So how are you supposed to then, live a life of understanding? And the reverse as well. There's certain British girls that have gone and got married to Bangladeshi men or Pakistani men that have come over here, and some of them are good for nothing. They're vegetables in the house. They don't do much. They go out there and they find their own little friends, and that's all their life is. Now she can't relate to them. She has to run around and do everything. It's really difficult, and I'm dealing with these cases, but what I'm saying to you, please get it right. Find out what you're getting into. Now the best way to get it right is talk to people who have already got married, and they'll tell you their experiences. If you're thinking of getting married to someone from back home, then please talk to the people who have already done it, and for the British people like yourself who've done it, and ask them the issues, what have they faced. If you're happy with it, go ahead. If not, please don't make the move. Now the pressure comes from different angles. Like I said, you will have pressure from your parents, pressure from your culture. Now parents do have a lot of experience which you don't have. And that's one thing you will never ever have until you've gone through a 20 years of marriage, 30 years of marriage like them. Never ever challenge your parents on this. Never say to your parents, well, What will you understand? Because they've got a lot of experience. That experience you can't buy. You can't read in books. You can read as many books as you want. You can listen to as many lectures as you want. But experience you cannot get until you go through it. And your parents have gone through it. So if they're telling you things that she's not a good girl, why not, mum? If she says to you because she has got a loose hijab, or she, for example, there's a lot of cases now, the cases are going more up and up, like she might be a Christian, right? There are these cases, right? The guy's seeing a girl, and from university, whatever, and basically he's got love in his eyes, and inshallah I want to make her a Muslimah, and inshallah she'll become Muslim, but she doesn't want to become Muslimah. She's a Christian. But in Islam, according to Surah Ma'idah, verse number 5, Allah said, مِنَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابِ, Allah has given permission. وَالْمُحْصَنَاتِ مِنَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابِ. Those women who are, but he said very clearly, listen to these words, muhsanat, those women who are chastised, who are those people, those women who have got some dignity and honor. They're not any loose women. Allah said muhsanat. So they're already women of dignity, women of chastity, women of that caliber. Those women from the people of the book. So what does that mean? That they actually have got some link to the people of the book. They are good Christians, good Jewish women. If you want to, you can get married to them. Now, when we've said this is only for the men to get married to women, not the other way around. Women can't do this with Christian men. Muslim women can't do this with Christian men or Jewish men. But even if you're thinking of getting married to a Christian woman or a Jewish woman, Sayyiduna Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu used to advise against it because of what he saw. And you can see it yourself. As an imam, I've seen it over many years. I've had cases. I've had loads of cases. Even recently, one guy came to him in the mosque just the other day, 3 weeks ago. He came, he said, Imam, he said, what? I said, I can't, I said, tell me, what is it? He said, my wife doesn't want me anymore. I said, what is your wife? He said, well, she's Christian. That's why I married her. I said, fine. So you had a nikah? Yes. Any children? He said, yes, one daughter. So I said, what's the problem? She just doesn't want me. She wants me to get out of the flat. She wants me to leave her. Now the simple question I asked him, within 2 minutes I came to the conclusion of why. I said, tell me, when you got married to her, what is it that you used to do? How was you with her? Did you used to go out with her? Did you used to have fun with her? He said, yes, we used to go out to the cinemas. We used to go out, go to certain restaurants. I used to take her out and so on. I said, do you do that now? He said, no. I said, well, you got your answer. She wants to change her husband. Her husband is not doing what she married him. She married a husband that would take her out to cinemas. She married a husband that would take her out for dinners. That's the pretense. That's the actual grounds you got married to her for. So she wants that. Now you're giving it to her. She wants to find a husband that will take her to the cinemas. Now if you found a non-practicing girl or a non-practicing boy, for the girls I'm saying this, not to you guys. When I say boy, I'm not talking to you guys, please, alright? For her, if she finds that, for you, if you find her, you've got to understand this potential thing that inshallah she's going to become practicing. Inshallah she's going to start wearing hijab. Inshallah she will become Muslim. Or inshallah she's going to become better than what she is. That does not work. I'm telling you, that does not work. The taqwa level, or the level of consciousness you have at the beginning of your marriage, that's what you've accepted each other on. So if you then go up in your taqwa, if you become more practicing and she stays where she is, she can turn around to you for the rest of life, and he can turn around to you for the rest of your life, sister, if they turn around to you and say, well, you accepted me like this. You get married to a sister without hijab, and you've accepted her without hijab. And she might have even said, okay, later on I'll do it one day. One day means any day. It could mean the day before she dies. Right? You married a brother without a beard, or without ilm, or certain knowledge you wanted, and he's promised you that he's going to start going on courses, he's going to start changing, whatever. Don't buy that. If you want a practicing sister, you want a practicing brother, get them practiced first. If they're not practicing, don't go for it. The most important part is that the practicing element is there if you can have it, and the best thing you can have. And the next most important thing is the character. Next most important thing is the character. Now, just before I go to the character, I want to say that Sayyidina Umar al-Khattab, he used to advise against the Sahaba marrying Christian women. Why? Because of what happens later on. Now, I'll give you a scenario. A couple have come into my masjid a few weeks back. This is just a few weeks back. And the guy, the family didn't want the boy to marry this Christian girl. But the boy says, no, I'm not going to agree. I need to get married to the Christian girl. If she's a Christian, I can marry her. And if that's the fine, then I really want to do it. Now, I put him on the scenario. I want you to hear this carefully. I've said to the boy, now he hasn't got a beard, fine, but he reads his salah. He hasn't got a beard, but he reads his salah. So I said to him, in front of her, I said, the nikah can happen. According to the Quran, fine. If your family fine with it, the nikah can happen, fine. But I said to the guy straight in there, I looked him straight in there, I said, listen, when your daughter's 8 years old, when your daughter with this woman is 8 years old, and she's not going to wear a hijab, and you want her to wear a hijab, and your wife hasn't got a hijab on her head, it's going to hurt you, brother. It's going to hurt you. And you know what she said? She was there. She said, no, he won't mind if I'm not wearing it. And he said, it will. He said, it will. And they went off, and they're having some discussion now, whether to go ahead or whether not to go ahead. What I'm saying to you, brothers and sisters, is, if you seriously think about the consequences, you better think about it with your children in your eyes. Because you think about it. Do you want your girl to grow up 12 years old, put lipstick, put makeup, no hijab, go out there on the streets, meet men? Well, if you want to do that, then marry a woman who starts off like that. Because then you will basically come to that, you basically see that. You'll see that that's going to happen to you. But if you want your girl to have that in her life, your boys to be brought up, you've got to have a certain practicing element. She's got to have that. The mother has to be the role model. If she's not the role model, and it has to be from beginning of marriage. Don't tell me you're going to wait till the end, till part of the marriage to take place, and then you're going to wait for her to wear hijab. It's not going to happen. And if it does happen, you're lucky. If it does happen, you're lucky. Otherwise, it won't happen. Now, when you get down to, let's move on with some of the slides now. If you go to slide number 6, about the intention. The intention is what? To get closer for Allah's sake. Family is important, but they just shouldn't make your soul, they shouldn't make your decision for you. You're making the final decision. It shouldn't be for entertainment. It's a big responsibility, shouldn't be taken lightly. Now move on to slide number 7. There's no such thing, I've said already, as a perfect man and a perfect woman. Now, there's an actual age and a mental age. What I mean by that is, look, everyone has this. You might be actually 22, but your mental age could be 29, could be 30. Yeah? Somebody who thinks far ahead, who acts like those who are 20-something, 9 in their society, then their mental age is 29 while their physical age is 22 or something. But some others, they're 22 physically and their mental age is 15. Yeah? The guy, he just can't get serious in life. He's still acting like a 15-year-old, he's already 22. So what you've got to do is, when you look at a potential spouse, you've got to find out what is their real mental age. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam had a massive gap between him and Aisha radiallahu anha. But Aisha radiallahu anha's mental age was much, much higher at a young age. You can already see her in ahadith, when she's talking, when she's doing things, that she's not the 16-year-old that was there. She was already like the 36-year-old, like the 40-year-old. She was already thinking like that. She was already acting like that. Or 30-year-old. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam could drop, if he wanted to drop it to her level, he could do that. So they got on. But not every time it happens like this. Not every time it happens like this. So it's important that you take that in consideration. When you have got certain experiences that the other person hasn't got, it might make a big difference. You need to find out if there are those things. The culture is a very important thing. Now, you don't have to get married to the same person of your culture. Islamically, you don't have to. But by your fitrah, you may want to. Now, let me make that clear to you. Al-jinsu yaminu ila jinsi. It's an Arabic saying. Every type of thing, whatever it is, will always find familiarity with its own type. It's a natural thing. It's a natural thing. Right? You have a group of people. I'll tell you this. You have a group of people. The more commonness they have amongst themselves, the more closer they come in groups. The more differences they have, the more apart they stay. Now, we have no racism in Islam, fine, but you give me a crowd of 1,000 people with different races, and I will guarantee you within an hour, people of same races will naturally come and meet each other, naturally will get closer to each other than people of other races. Now again, I'm not saying there's racism in Islam, I'm not saying that. But there is something where you will be, like for example, let me give this. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in the hadith of Abu Dawud, Al-arwahu junudun mujannada. Souls have been created by Allah as like troop marshals. Just as you're sitting in rows and you're in columns, the same way individuals are. He has said there are certain characteristics in yourself. If another human being has got the same characteristics, he has said they will find familiarity and they will like one another. And when فَإِذَا اخْتَلَفَتْ تَنَاكَرَتْ, he said when they have differences in their character, they have dislikeness with one another. It's absolutely natural. There are some people you just can't get on with. And don't blame yourself for it. Allah has created you like that, Allah has created you like that. You're just two opposite ends of the creation. That's how Allah has created you. So there's certain people you will not get on, and certain people you just meet them the first time and you think, man, that guy, I can be his friend, I can live with him, whatever. There are certain people like that. Now this is what? This is character. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said what? He said 4 things will be sought. He said you may have jamal, you may have beauty. Tunkahul mar'a li arba'. A woman is married for 4 things, and the same thing you can see in a man. If you reverse it, either li jamaliha, either for her beauty she is married, or she's married for her wealth, or she's married for her hasab, or her own, her own family name that she's got. Okay, she's got a lineage, she's got a high class family, or he's got that. Either for these 3 things they're married, or they're married for deen. They're married for deen. Now, subhanallah, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said the word deen. Deen has 2 meanings. Either you marry them for these first 3 things, or you marry them because they're practicing. Because they're practicing. Because they're religious. Because they've got religion inside them. That's why they get married. But he said, out of all of these, he said, choose the deen. فَاخْتَرْ الدِّينَ تَرِبَتْ يَدَاكَ. He said, choose the deen, choose that last thing I've told you, the religious side of it. You will prosper. You will prosper. Your hands will get dirty with dust if you don't listen to what I've said to you. Now, the deen has 2 elements to it. One is the religiousness. In Arabic, deen means that, the religiousness. The other side of deen is character. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said in the hadith of Abu Dawud, Al-mar'u ala deen khalilih, فَلْيَنْظُرْ أَحَدُكُمْ إِلَى مَنْ يُخَالِلْهُ. He said, a man is according to the character of his brother. So you should look at whoever you're befriending, who his friends already are. Because his friends who already are, he will have the similar character to them. So the same thing about when you get married. When Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, فَاخْتَرْ الدِّينِ, he's meant 2 things here. One is religiousness, and the other one is their character, and it's very important to get that right. But when you meet your potential, what you've got to understand is, there's one thing about performance and another thing about character. Please remember this carefully. Right now, I'm performing. Right now, you're performing in front of you, mashallah, in the last 2 hours, you haven't said a single word. Alhamdulillah. If I walk away from here and I judge you by what you've done, I'll say, Luton, the people there, they're such nice people. They sat there without saying a single word. Yeah, mashallah. But that's not your character, is it? This is not my character. I can sit here and I can lecture you and I can tell you this about the deen, and that's my performance. My character is when I'm to myself. My character is when you judge me with all my actions, whether I'm in front of people, whether I'm not in front of people, whether I'm seen by others or not seen by others, whether it's a night time, whether it's a daytime, whether it's secrecy, whether it's openness, whether it's privacy, whether it's in public time. When you look at me and you see all my actions, then you will see character. That is why when somebody came to Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, and Sayyidina Umar said to a whole crowd of people, he said, does anyone know this person? And one person said, yes, I know him. And Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab said, okay, have you traded with him? He said, no. Have you had dealings with him in transactions? He said, no. He said, have you traveled with him? The man said, no. He said, have you lived with him as a neighbor? He said, no. He said, then you do not know him. You do not know him. If you don't spend long time with someone within their own, close to them, whether it's with transaction dealings, because you're going to spend long time with a business partner. You're going to spend a long time with the person you're traveling. You're going to spend a long time with a neighbor. If you don't spend that closeness, you do not know them. Now this sister of yours, this brother of yours, you do not know them. And the half an hour sittings you're going to have, the 1 hour sittings each time you come to the house, you will not get to know their character. So what do? You have to take reference from the people who know them. That is a sunnah. That is a sunnah. That's why they came to one another. They went to one Sahabi went to another Sahabi. The Sahaba came to the Prophet ﷺ, Sahabiyat came to the Prophet ﷺ, and they said, I want to get married to so-and-so, please tell me about them. And Rasulullah ﷺ, on these occasions, he told them about their character. Another hadith I said to you, one of them does not put his stick down, meaning he's going to beat you up, woman, if you get married to her. If you get married to him, he's going to beat you up, woman. And the other one, he said, Sa'luk, he says, he's tight. He's not going to spend on you. He talked about character. He talked about not their performance. The performance was when they see that woman, what they're going to say, inshallah, inshallah, how much mahar do you want? Oh, inshallah. Smiles, cheerful faces, to say that you're going to give this, and agreements and so on. But that's not character, that's performance. So don't get fooled by the two.
This audio is brought to you by Muslim Central. Please consider donating to help cover our running costs and future projects by visiting www.muslimcentral.com/donate.
It is an important aspect that if you are going to need certain people or certain foods or certain ways of being together, then you will have to marry the same culture. Marry the same sister of the sister of the same culture. Nothing wrong with that. It's not being racist. Because we are familiar with one another. The more familiarity there is, the more closeness there will be. However, just because a person wants to marry someone outside the culture, please don't discriminate them. Don't say that, if your mother is saying to you, your father is saying to you that you can't get married to a wife because they're from a different because they're from a different culture. Are you both, the whole point is, can you get on together? Are you both British? If you're both British, you can get on together. There's huge things that start on this. I personally myself, I've got married to someone who's not of my culture. But alhamdulillah, I've had a very good marriage so far, alhamdulillah. And inshallah, I should have another good years till I'm gone from this world with a good marriage. The thing is, it's not the end of the world, but some cultures find it disastrous. It's like you've actually almost backstabbed them. You've done something wrong, absolutely wrong. It's like you committed a kabira or a major sin, just because you're going outside the culture. It doesn't have to be like that. And most of these people don't understand because they've never experienced it themselves. And there are, alhamdulillah, the generation now, the way we're moving forward, there's a lot more of these cases. I hear in Luton you've got serious cases, right? Pakistani, Bengali, marriages, I hear quite serious. You guys are not laughing, are you? But anyway, it can get serious, but it doesn't have to get serious. For what? what? They're Muslims. They're Muslims. They've got Islam. For Allah's sake, get together. And it's going to be very embarrassing. It's very embarrassing when you, at the beginning, make all this hoo-ha not to get them to get married to each other, and then they get married. Now, after that, after 5 years, 10 years, they're so embarrassed. They're so embarrassed to face them. The same people that, you plotted against them, and they did all sorts of horrible things. There's people that even go to the extent of doing black magic. I'm telling you this because I've dealt with these cases. Just because they don't want two people to get married. I've dealt with these cases. Why? Because of personal feelings. Personal, some selfishness, some greed, some jealousy, some, difference of opinion. Because of that, they go to extents that, they try and deliberately break their marriage. Deliberately break by saying one thing here and by saying one thing there. I mean, they're responsible to Allah. And on the Day of Judgment, they will have to make their, they will have to give their answers on the Day of Judgment. Now, so I'm saying to you, you've got to balance it. What is it that you want? What are you going to be comfortable with? Are you going to be comfortable with a sister from your own culture? Fine, alhamdulillah, get married to her. From your own culture, brother, you want to get married? Fine, get married to him. But if you are going to meet someone, or you met someone already from a different culture, they're good Muslim. What would the case is, if you were in an Islamic empire and there was judges. In an Islamic empire, your parents would have the right to go and make a case against you, not to get married to a certain girl. And that would be on the basis of what? That would be on the basis of deen. If you were practicing and the girl is not practicing, they are able to get the judge to make sure that you don't get married to that girl. So if your parents are saying that girl is not good for you because she doesn't have the same qualities of deen that we have, that boy is not good for you, then you should be someone who should make you should be someone who makes the effort. You should be someone who makes the effort to try and get them, to come apart, because they're not of the same deen. Their quality is not there. There's going to be huge upsets, like I've said before. Anyway, if you look at page 2, slide 8, you've got two things there. You've got istishara and you've got istikhara. One you will do is you will consult people, and the other thing you will do, you'll put your trust in Allah and you'll make istikhara. When you go and consult people, the people you consult, they have to be open with you, they have to be honest with you. And the crucial question is, if this was a person, like for example, you're asking someone, is this girl okay? So the guy says, yeah, she's fine, as best as I know. The question to him is, would you marry your own son to this girl? Would you marry your own brother to this girl? And if he says without hesitance, with honesty, he says, yes, I would, then fine, go ahead. That's good istishara. But if he says, if he's my son, no, I wouldn't marry my son. What are you giving me advice for? Why are you telling me to get married? Because honestly, people don't think about it. People might give you advice because they just want to see that girl get married off. But they're not thinking about their own personal lives with that girl. So if you look at here, I've got a note here on slide number 7, that the whole question at the bottom is, are you ready to live with this person for the rest of your life? It's a serious question. It's not for a few moments or a few days. Right? Why do people be comfortable with dating? Because they know anytime they can throw her away. Anytime she can throw him away. Right? That's why they're comfortable. They can change. It's like clothes. I'm wearing these for 3 days or 2 days, man. They're smelling a bit. Let me get rid of them. Right? If you get married and your wife's got some characteristic, your husband's got some characteristic, it smells there, you have to live with it, bruv. You have to live with it. You have to deal with it. It's a responsibility. Allah says, after you get married, the worst, the most hated of permitted laws Allah gave us, أَبْغَضُ الْحَلَالِ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ الطَّلَاقِ. The most hated of permitted laws Allah has given us is divorce. Now you can't get into a marriage and say, I don't like this about you, I'm leaving you. Come on, deal with it. Sister's got problems, brother's got problems. Try and help them. Try and change their character. You have to do that now. Now that you're in it, you have to change them. You have to try and deal with it. You have to put up with it. You have to have sabr. You have to give nasiha. You have to try and find good ways of trying to make them a good person. But you can't just say for a simple thing that I'm giving up. Now what I say to most people is, now istikhara for example, You can do istikhara before you go to see her, or you can do istikhara after you go and see her. Okay, you can do both. Both are fine. But one thing I'll tell you, please, is that if you do istikhara before you even go to see her, you're going to save yourself a lot of money and a lot of time. A lot of people, I just don't know what the philosophy is behind this, yeah? You go, and you go to her house, right? You've taken loads of gifts, and the £100 laddu I talked about, yeah? You take that, and then you go a second time and you take some other jalebi, and you take some kapra, you take some clothing and all that. Then you go again, and then finally by the fifth time, the whole family's getting all excited, ready, everything, and the guy basically says, istikhara. So he prays 2 rakat salah, and he comes to his Imam, sir, please, I don't know what to do. What? I've seen a bad dream about her. Or after 5 meetings, yeah. I don't know whether I should go with the marriage. Oh, you fool! You should have done that istikhara in the beginning or earlier on. You could have done that after the first meeting. After the first meeting, you could have done it. After the second meeting, you could have done it. Why wait till they're ready to try and, get everything together, and then now you're having doubts in your heart? You wasted their time. You wasted your time. You wasted your money. You wasted their money. So if you're going to do it either you go before you go to see her, or after your first meeting, go and do istikhara. And then see if it's positive. Now positive is 3 things. They've written this inside the books, okay? Either you will have a dream, number 2, or you will have a feeling, strong feeling inside you on waking up in the morning of a yes, there's good in this, or no, there is no good in this. Or number 3 is they say that you see after istikhara, if things are falling into place towards the marriage, then it's positive, and things are falling against the marriage after that, then it's no. What I would say to you, please, is the first is the best. To actually get a dream. To get a dream is the best, because you have got no way of controlling that dream. Unless you're trying to close your eyes in daylight and basically say, oh yeah, I saw it. Now some people, I said, I can't believe these people, yeah. There's some people, there's a person I met for business, right? And I said to them, do istikhara. And they consulted me at 11 or 12 o'clock in the daytime. By 1 p.m. I said, 2 hours later, I said, what happened? What's happening with it? They said, I've already agreed. I said, I told you to do istikhara. They said, I did istikhara. I said, you did istikhara? They said, yeah, I just prayed 2 rakats istikhara, went inside there, made my deal, and came back out. I said, what, that's istikhara? That's istikhara? Basically they're so excited, they want it, they ain't got no time for waiting for the result. They ain't got the heart in it. Some guy, the other day I met someone, told me, they want to get married to someone, so they're saying, they did istikhara as well. It's a Christian one, basically. They did istikhara as well, and the positive. I said, listen, that guy, he's madly in love with his woman. And with that madly in love heart, he made the istikhara saying, please Allah, all I can do is think of her, please make it come true. And then he's just basically saying after the istikhara, I feel positive. Of course you feel, but you felt positive before the istikhara. You're feeling more positive now because, your heart's pounding for her. That's what it is. So don't give that kind of, biased istikhara. If you're going to do properly, put your trust in Allah. Oh Allah, istikhara is what? Oh Allah, I am asking you, if in this matter of mine, if there is good for me, in what? In fi dini, firstly my religious affairs, ma'ashi, my whole life and my livelihood, wa aqibati amri, and my final outcome. See, subhanallah, Islam has made it so beautiful for us. Fate is about what? Fate is not about you looking at the beginning. Fate is beginning and end. And the best of fate is what is at the end. What at the end. That's why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in the hadith of Bukhari and Muslim, innamal a'malu bil khawatim. You wanna judge actions, you judge actions by the endings, not by the beginnings. You could be so happy with this woman or this man at the beginning, but that's not your ending. You have to see whether you're going to be happy with them after 20 years, 30 years, 40 years of marriage. That's what it's about. So that's why you do istikhara. Oh Allah, tell me, if there's good in this, for my religious affairs, for my worldly affairs, for my final outcome, then you decreed for me, فَقْدُرْهُ لِي وَيَسِّرْهُ لِي, make it easy for me, ثُمَّ بَارِكْ لِي فِيهِ. Oh Allah, give me barakah and blessing in this. وَإِنْ كَانْ هَذَا الْأَمْرِ, and if this matter of mine is sharrun li, it is not good for me, in terms of my religion, or my livelihood, or and my final outcome, then فَاصْرِفْهُ عَنِّي وَاصْرِفْنِي عَنْهُ. Oh Allah, be serious about this. Move it away from me and move me away from it, or her, or him. وَاقْدُرْ لِي الْخَيْرَ حَيْثُ كَانَ. And then after that, give me another qadr, give me another fate, give me another person that will be better than this person. ثُمَّ رَبِّنِي بِهِ. And make me pleased with that fate. See, you making istikhara, you asking Allah, Allah direct me. If it's good for me, make it happen. If it's not good for me, push me away right now. So if you're sincere, you're asking Allah with an unbiased heart. And if you're doing that, inshallah, Allah will give you a result. Now some people, they say, Imam, I don't get no result. I've done istikhara, I've done it, several times, I'm not seeing anything. I'm telling you, you do 2 rakats with sincerity. You do 2 rakats with sincerity, like Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, and you do with full devotion, and you repeat it according to another hadith. You may repeat it up to 7 nights. You do that with full devotion. I'm telling you, before even the 3rd night, you will see a dream. And even if you're still stuck, you can ask somebody else to do istikhara for you. But I would rather say that you still try. And the other 2 things are fine. The other 2 results are fine. With your feeling, with things happen, they're fine. But I would still rather you make a decision according to a dream, because it's the most clear thing that will give you some clear direction. Because it will be from Allah. It will be from Allah. Now, before seeing a person, if you go to now slide number 9, page number 3. Sometimes you can see photos, they can be deceiving. This is just for some information I'm giving you. So remember, seeing a photo of a person and seeing a real person is 2 different things, right? And please don't get deceived by one. You might be saying no to a good potential, but just by seeing the photo. Some people look ugly when you take their picture, because the lens was, blurred a bit, because it was dark a little. Because the guy was surprised. The guy just took a photo like, when you take a passport photo, you're not going to take a passport like this. They tell you not to smile. No hat on your head. So you might be looking at, if you look at my passport photo, you're probably thinking I'm Bin Laden's disguised again. Seriously, when I go through the airport, right, they always tell the guy scans it once, scans it again, scans again. After about 5-10 minutes, then lets me go. Hika is not Bin Laden in the Arabian Sea. Yeah, he's not him. We found his DNA. Yeah. So the thing is, you don't just look at photos. You go and see the person and go and talk to them. And when you're there, you basically be with the mahram, like I've said. That's in slide number 9. Slide number 10. I've said quite a bit of this. And if you look on slide number 11, you will find something important there. 3rd point there. There's something with the Myers-Briggs personality indicator. Now, you don't have to get into this, but if you do know about it, and if you can find out someone's personality through this test, which is a psychological test, it really makes things a lot more clearer. You can find a person's character to a great degree just by knowing their Myers-Briggs personality type. I put it into your notes. I'm not going to go any further. What you need to do is you need to do your own research in this. I haven't got the time to explain this. For me to explain this will take me 1 to 1.5 hours to go into the personality types. There's 16 different types, and all humans fall into one of the 16 types. And there's 4 major questions. You can find other questions to find out, but this really does help. I've used this in marriage quite a few times, and sometimes you have marital problems, and I ask this guy, I don't have to ask him, I can look at people, just spend a bit of time with them while they're talking to me, and I can more or less work out what their character type is. So the couple come to me, and this one's arguing, saying my husband this, and this one says my wife this, and in the end I've just looked at them and they're basically totally opposites of each other. I think, Ya Allah, how did these 2 get married? How did they choose one another? I asked them, how did they choose one another? We didn't choose one another, our parents chose us for us. That's what exactly, you couldn't have chosen one another, because they're total opposite. The man loves going out and being out and about. The woman loves staying indoors. Wow, that's going to be a really good combination, isn't it? Yeah. The man loves chatting. The woman doesn't like talking much. Or the woman loves chatting, the man doesn't. Right? The man is, always a teaser, or a person who likes to tease another person. The woman hates it. The woman can't stand being picked on, but the man loves it. He loves teasing and winding up, and he loves taking chabi out, the key. That's basically telling that. The man breaks every rule he sees. The woman likes to keep every rule she sees. Now, how are these two supposed to get on together? It's a serious question. So, there's certain things that you might want, like on slide number 11, you want to find out about the manner of the speech tells you a lot. The manner of the speech tells you a lot. And don't forget, please, not performance and character. Try and find out the real way they speak. Because when they're performing in front of you, they might be too shy and they might not say it the right way. But if you know their character, you will know how they speak. The way a person walks, you can tell a lot in them. You can tell a lot in them. There's some people that walk, and when they walk, you can just look at them and you say, that guy's serious. And some people walk, they walk like this, all sloppy and dragging their feet. Don't tell me that guy is serious in life. Alright? You can tell people, there are huge studies in this, how people walk, how people talk, the selection of words, the tone in their voice, how they use it. When two people are talking with another, who dominates the conversation? The key things you look for, who's dominating the conversation? Now, sometimes again, when it's for marriage, you can't always tell, because the woman's not going to dominate. Now, if you can imagine, you go and try and talk to her, and she basically, Allah, my God, she's debating with me. I don't want to get married to that woman. She's not going to do that with you, because you'll not take her. So, again, it's about character. To find out the real character, you need to talk to other people. You need to find references that are outside of you sitting with them. Right, now, if you look on the next slide, one of the things you want to ask for is about the goals in life. It's slide number 12. The goals in life. What do they want to do? What do they want to achieve? If you're thinking about going abroad, studying, getting into Islamic books and all that, and she's thinking 5 years' time she wants to open her own business, well, you've got two different ends here. Are you really going to be serious with one another? If your goals are different in life. And, for example, if you have any worries, please bring them up. Now, if you look at the last point on number 12, slide number 12, you'll see it says, at no point should one be alone with the other person by phone, text, email, Facebook, whatever. That's fitna. And I'll tell you one thing, it all starts innocently. It all starts innocently. But then it gets into certain things that, they're on the phone to each other for hours before marriage. They're just thinking about each other. That's a type of zina. That's a type of zina. Rasulullah said, you carry on looking lustfully, that's zina. You carry on hearing lustfully, that's zina. Hadith Muslim. Al-aynan zinahuma al-nazar. Wal-udhunan zinahuma al-istima' wal-lisan zinahu al-kalam. Rasulullah in a sahih, authentic hadith of Muslim he has said that the ears, their fornication is to listen lustfully. And the tongue, its fornication is to talk lustfully. That's zina. Don't tell me you're not doing it. And he said, wal-yad, zina ha al-batsh. Al-yadani zina huma al-batsh. He said the hands, the zina is to basically try and touch. Now whether you're touching her physically or whether you're on your keyboard and you're basically talking to her and you're touching that, you're basically trying to get your communication with her through lustful words, that is zina. And most of this that goes on, I don't care how innocent they are, some of these words, they wouldn't say it in front of her dad. Would you really do this? Would you really do this in front of her dad? Would he be able to see all these messages and not be, would be totally alright with it? Sometimes they might be alright, sometimes not. And the guy wouldn't want to show his, potential father-in-law all these emails. The reason why? Because he's going to come back and make sure he's a proper Muslim. He's going to do his Muslimani again. He's going to circumcise him again. That's why. So he's going to make sure that he doesn't go down that line, making her father know about this. Next slide, 13. One good way of knowing each other, and I'm spending a lot of time of this just to get to know each other, because if you do this, you've done a lot of the marriage will go well. One way to ask is, if you was to put your life as chapters of a book, how would you put those as chapters? For example, chapter 1 could be that I was born and brought up in this place, I lived there. And chapter 2 could be I moved to this other area. Or chapter 2 could be then my primary education started and I was at this school. Chapter 3 could be that I went to secondary school and this is where I went and these were my friends. Chapter 4 could be college. Life changes again. I had different friends, different environment. This is what I did for the next 2-3 years. Chapter 5 could be university. And this happened. Or one of the chapters could be my father died and I changed, or my mother got really ill and this happened. So to actually make certain chapters of life, and then you've got ground for discussion. You've got ground for discussion. Okay, tell me a bit more about this, tell me a bit more about that. Again, please don't get too deep, because if you get too deep and find out everything about the other person, you're not going to marry them. You're not going to marry them. And if you basically leave it at a shallow level too much and not find enough, you're going to regret that you never asked them. So do go into it, but don't go too deep. The family that they've got will have an effect on them. So ask about, look at their fathers, look at their mothers, look at their siblings, look around them, see how they're acting, because their characteristics, some of those might be in this person, not all of them. And don't judge them by their brother, don't judge them by their sister. That doesn't have to happen. Go to the next slide, slide 14. It says here that you shouldn't hurt feelings. If you want to say no to the person, please say no in a way that you don't hurt feelings. So basically, there's a lot of some sisters really get. If you tell a sister and you send a message back that I didn't find her attractive, it really mentally tortures them. It mentally tortures them. They have a really bad time coming over this. A lot of potentials could come and they might not want to see anyone after that. It really hurts them inside. I've met these sisters. Same way, what you say is, look, you don't have to be dishonest about it, but you just say, we're now looking somewhere else. You don't have to give the reason. Or you basically wait to look for another potential. Come and say, look, we're sorry, but there's another place that we're interested in, or something like that. Give some answer. Or you might have 2 reasons why you said no. Then give it the lesser ones. Don't give something that's going to hurt the other person. Right, now, if you look at slide number 15, we find that parents have got a lot of information, fine, but they shouldn't make it difficult for their own sons and daughters. They should look for the ideal partner for their sons and daughters, fine, but advice to them is don't make your unrealistic lists as well. Don't make it unrealistic. Now, some parents, right, they make it their, because it's their culture. Their culture says he must have a job. Now come on, it's recession time. You can't find jobs. Give the guy a chance. If it wasn't recession time, he'd probably find a job. Even if it's not recession time, the guy hasn't got a job, doesn't mean that he's a lowlifer. He has to have a degree. Understand the reasons why he didn't have a degree. Some children are not so fortunate. Their parents, one of them has passed away at the age of 17. The guy had to quit his education because he had to go to work. He's the eldest of the family. He had to support his whole family. That's good value in that child. For the last 5 years, he's been working hard night and day. He couldn't get a degree, but he worked to support his family. Now that's good value in that kid. You should take that. And please remember the hadith. The hadith of the Prophet that says, if a good person comes with good deen, right, and he wants to get married to your daughter, and you don't allow them to get married to your daughter, then Rasulullah said there will be fitna. There will be tribulation. There will be tribulation. So please bear that in mind. Now, to go to slide number 16. What are the rights of a person who's a father? A boy asked Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu, has a son no right over his father? He replied by saying, to select for him a good mother, this is one right. To give him a good name is a right. to teach him the Quran is a right. So these are responsible. Now some parents think that they have a right over them until they die. That is wrong. That is wrong. Parents' responsibility is that you give them a good character, you give them a good nature, now you bring them up. Okay, you try and help them find the right spouse, you're trying to give them good advice. But you know, some parents, they just can't let go. Their kid gets married, they still treat him as a little kid. He's got children, they still treat him as a little kid. No independence. Then you probably, you basically a grandfather or grandmother by now, but you still got no respect to give him some independency. One good advice I'd give to you is, if you can do this, that after marriage you get your separate accommodation. It will really bring a lot of peace to you in your life. A lot of peace. If you're a sister, and listen to this, if you got a choice between a few brothers that are coming and seeing you, and you've got one brother that can give you a separate accommodation, and he's got a good character and all the other things that I've said, and the others haven't got a separate accommodation, I would ask you to go for the brother that will give you separate accommodation. When you're separate, you're independent. Our parents came to this country, they did not come with all their grandparents, their grandmothers. They didn't do that. So they had a nice, they had a tough life, but they still had a nice life of independence. And I would say to you that the best life, what did Rasulullah ﷺ do for his own daughter Fatima radiallahu anha? She even asked Rasulullah ﷺ to bring herself near him and to give him some other accommodation. He said no. And Sayyidina Ali couldn't afford a house. But Rasulullah ﷺ got a separate accommodation for Sayyidina Ali and Sayyidatuna Fatima radiallahu anhuma, and he made sure that they stayed separate from Rasulullah ﷺ's own house. While Fatima and Ali radiallahu anhuma, up until that time, more or less they were in the household of the Prophet ﷺ. But he separated them. Why? On the basis of what? On the basis that he understood that when you're separate and you're independent, you can make your own decisions. You've got qualms, you can sort it out yourself. You've got happiness, you can have your private time of happiness. When you're living with in-laws, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, please, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Sometimes you live with in-laws, it's a credit as well because you've got people to look after them. There's bonuses on both sides, but there's discredits on both sides. You've got to look at the pros and cons. But I believe that in this country where I've seen people live with in-laws, there's more issues than people who live separately. I've dealt with a lot of cases, my brothers and sisters, and I'm telling you from experience. And I would say to you that if you got that chance, please take up that chance. And parents, with some parents, they think, Ya Allah, astaghfirullah, you're kind of betraying them if you leave the house. What's the parent's right? The parent's right is that one of the sons or one of the daughters will look after them in old age. At least, if not all of them. Now if one of the brothers, one of the sisters of yours has decided that they're going to look after your parents, then the responsibility is a fard kifaya. It's a fard kifaya. That means if one of them does it, the rest of them don't have to do it. But for a parent to be adamant that they want all their children to live with them in the same household, they're creating a cocktail of trouble. Seriously. Because what happens is, it's not back home. Back home is like you've got a lot of space. You've got, the rooms are big. This size hall is a room back home. I'm serious. And you've got big kitchen, you've got big outside, and women can just go outside, go next. They can walk freely up and down here and there because they're all family. Right? Here, in England, you got a strict 4-wall that is really congested already. And you know what happens? They all come down to the same kitchen. Back home you got 4 kitchens. Go, let's be honest with you. My dad built a big house back home. There's separate kitchens. Or if they want to make separate, they've got the space. Land, you build. There's no application you need to make. There's no planning permission. You build where you want, my brother. You build as high as you want. Yeah? But here you can't do that. They're all anyway saying kitchen. Now the 3 daughter-in-laws. And then there's their godmother, the mother-in-law, with a wand. And she basically with a stick, and she's waiting. Who's going to clean those dishes today? Who scratched the cooker? Astaghfirullah. I want to get that daughter-in-law. And there's issues. They're all congested. They're like chickens in battery hens, like battery hens or something in a farm. They can't move. They fart. Somebody knows when they fight. Which direction they fight. How stinking he was. I'm serious. And they start talking. They start talking. And who did what in the house? Who didn't do what in the house? And they make trouble. They make trouble, and then the husbands that come home, they have to listen now. Then this brother is not talking to that brother. That brother, I know brother, honestly I'm speaking, I'm saying this to you in this seminar here. I know brothers that haven't talked to each other in the same house for years. Or they talk only salam and that's it. Because of the women in the, not just the women, it's the brothers as well, because they come home, they just listen to their wife. And the wife says, like, this happened, did you hear? And the guy goes, oh, please, what can I do for you? What can I do for you? And then after that, what happens is he gets all, that's it. Right, I'm going to go out there. Right? First thing is, please, go and investigate what your wife is saying. Just because she's your wife doesn't mean she is a firishta, she's an angel. Your wife could be biased. Your wife could tell you something, misconstrued. Your wife could have her own, little bit of, she might have put a little masala with it when she's telling you. And you've added your vindaloo to it when you're going to talk to them. You're going to make it really hot and spicy when you go and talk to them. But please investigate first. What was the real situation? Did so-and-so say this? Did so-and-so say that? No, yes, find out. And sometimes it's between the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law, and the guy gets caught in the middle. The mother says, your wife said this, and the wife says, your mother said this. And he looks at his mother, he goes close to his mother, he's not upsetting his wife. He goes to his wife, he's upsetting his mother. And these are happening in hundreds and thousands of houses. Yes or no? Come on. Yes, they are happening. So I'm telling you, in this country of ours where we are living, it is nice to have a separate accommodation to sort out this problem, because these problems don't end. They don't end. They just get worse, and they get worse until one of them moves out. And by the time they've moved out, the bitterness in their hearts is something unresolvable. I've dealt with cases where they've been there for 12 years together and whatever. I don't want to go on with this, but I would say to you that please try and get the separate. If you're going to live together, the best thing is, if you're good Muslims, you won't have trouble. If you have good etiquettes, if you have good adab, if you really are going to follow the Quran and Sunnah and listen to Allah and His Messenger, there won't be trouble. But people don't do that. And most people are not going to do that. And I know men in the masjid, la ilaha illallah, was so good in the masjid. You're going to say, I could call him dad. I could make him, like a kind of stepdad if I wanted to, a person I could look up to, right? But that same guy goes home and, with the things he does, if you were to listen to the women in his household, you'd be shocked. You'd puke up. You'd go and beat him up. There's some people like that. Again, don't judge people with what you see. Now, the one other thing is here is on slide number 16 is gossip. Lawmatul la'im. This is one concept the Quran has said, which is people blaming you for you not doing something they expected. Man, that's a big thing in our society. And the best of Muslims are those who don't look at that. They don't fear that. They fear Allah and His Messenger. Allah said in the Holy Quran, لا يخافون لومة لائم. They do not fear the blame of the one who's going to blame them. They don't fear that. And that people Allah has credited in the Quran. Because if you're going to listen to, oh, he's going to say this and he's going to say that, oh my God, and that makes you do certain things, you're just a puppet. And you are causing trouble by doing this. And I'd say the best thing is, if you got in your household, Allah and His Messenger's words are going to correct everyone, and if they are true to that, then fine, alhamdulillah, you will not have issues. Right, look at slide number 17. Sometimes it's about differences in the in-laws, differences with the other family. It causes a huge rift in the family. Again, I'm saying to you, please keep your good ties. Now, one thing with your wife or with your husband, you need to understand is, you two are king and queen. Your wife is queen, you are king, finished. Once you're married, you are going to make your own decisions. If you're going to have her family coming in every time and interfering and saying, you better do this, why are you doing this, and your family doing the same thing with that, that's where problems are going to start. You should be independent just like they were independent at one time. Right, when you're making the agreements of the marriage, and I'm going to make this quite clear here. Look at slide number 18. Somebody asked me just this in the break time. What is a true marriage? Sorry, before I get to that, somebody asked me also another thing, which is, when you're taking advice from your imams, somebody said, sometimes we've got trouble going to our own imams. Well, if you've got an imam who's from back home, and he doesn't understand what's going on here, he doesn't understand your culture, he doesn't understand you, and you're British, and they are, and you're British Bengali, British Pakistani, British Egyptian, whatever, but they are just one type and they're not really British, then you can't take advice of them. I'm just being serious with you. You can't take advice of them. You're supposed to take advice of a person who knows how to, who can understand you. If they can't understand you, you should not take advice of them. Simple. And our mosques, some of them that are still employing imams that cannot relate to these generations that are growing up. Yeah? It's a dishonest service of that committee that have kept that imam. And that poor imam, sometimes I feel sorry for him because he's just looking for his daily bread. But when it comes to his realization, he should just pack up and get another job somewhere. Because the thing is, the community suffers. The community suffers as a result. Why? Because they have got issues and he can't relate to them. He can't give them sound advice. All he can see is he has to keep the parents happy. Otherwise the parent is going to talk to the committee member and he's going to lose his job. So he's going to say, you better listen to your dad. You better listen to your dad. Your dad's, if you don't listen to dad, you're going to Jahannam, boy. That's all he can tell you. That's all he can tell you. He can't see anything beyond what is happening inside the house or why the father is like this. So please, if you're going to go to an imam who understands your background because he has a similar background. That kind of imam I'm talking about. I'm not going to dwell on this. But the other thing that I was going to say is, what is an Islamic, the person asked this question is, what parts of the marriage or the whole process is Islamic and what parts are not? I'll tell you straight what is. For you to go and to propose to her or to go to see her is a sunnah. And that's in the hadith. And he has said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said to one sahabi, he said, have you seen her? He said, no. He said, go and see her. He said, it's okay. He said, go and see her because she's from this tribe. And the women of that tribe sometimes have an eye out of placement. When sometimes, you got both eyes in the same place at the same time. When you're looking left or right, they move. Sometimes you have one eye in one place and the other eye moves, but this eye doesn't move in coincidence. So he said that. It's in hadith. Go and see her. Go and see her. So to go and see her is a sunnah. To go and to know, obviously, as I said, a deen, to go and know the deen, to go and know the character and so on. Of course, with the mahram there is part of the deen. Then for the family to make the decision that yes, we're going to allow my daughter, you're going to allow your son to get together. Yep, that is part of the deen. But after that, the real deen is a nikah and a walima. There's no such concept of engagement. This whole thing about engagement, all that, that we've actually now said there's going to be a wedding date, we've made the promise to each other. There's no such thing. As soon as possible, you should have your nikah date fixed. Why? Because shaitan can come in between. The longer you keep that date ahead, the more you're going to get people talking, gossiping, and something's going to come up. And someone's going to say something rude somewhere, and it's all going to be off. Poor guy, poor girl. So, you keep the nikah date as close as you can. And the second thing you do is the sunnah. You know what the sunnah is? The sunnah is an imam or someone who's qualified to do the nikah does the nikah. So he makes her say that she's going to accept, he will accept. The dowry is fixed, that's part of the sunnah. And what is the dowry? The dowry is something which he gives to her as a gift. It doesn't have to be an asset. It can be gold, it can be silver, it can be money, it could be something else. But there's no maximum to it, but there is a kind of a minimum to it. And there's different opinion in the different fiqh, I'm not going to go into that. But the dowry is a sunnah, that's what I'll say to you. Now, he's given a dowry and there has to be 2 Muslim male witnesses that will witness this nikah. If that is done and they've accepted each other, the nikah has been performed. The sunnah is to give dates after this. To eat dates. No food. Again, if you give him food, it's not against the sunnah. I'm going to explain this in a bit. Right? After 3 days of consummating the marriage, so that day the nikah was done, wait for 3 nights. After 3 nights, you will then have a walima. And the walima, you will try and publicize it as best as you can. You are even allowed to use drums to publicize. This is even in the hadith. And you will try and at least have a goat. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Awlimu walau bishah." He said, even with one single goat, if you can make the walima, then make the walima. So you should feed people on that day. You should publicize. You should call as many of the public people as you can, your friends, family, whoever, to come and have that meal, so they know that these two have got married. That much is the sunnah. That's it. Is there anything else to remember? I'll tell you. But anything else besides it? So now let's go through the norms. Okay, the norms is that you basically getting towards a marriage. So they're gonna have now. You're gonna have. Oh my God! There's so many customs here, right? You're going to have one custom where it's called the mendi. It's a big custom, the mendi. I mean, they're all going to dress to say, oh, come on, for Allah's sake, right? Why are they making 3 different pieces of clothing? One for the mendi, one for the wedding, and one for the walima. And they're only going to wear them once in their lifetime. This is the worst thing. If they're not going to donate these afterwards, right? And they come in front of me, I'd want to slap them. Because they're wasting time, they're wasting money. They're wasting money when there's poor people across the world who can do with those clothes. So if you're going to do that, please donate those clothes after you wear, because I know you're not going to wear those clothes again, because it's a shame on you to wear those clothes again. That's why they don't wear it. If I wear these clothes at another wedding, then people are going to say, oh my God, did you see he wore those clothes again? You know me, you will see me in a wedding, you know what I do? I wear more or less the same clothes at almost every wedding. I'll have a white jubba on, and I have about 3 different tops on, I have that, and I have the same shoes. Look at my shoes, they'll be always the same shoes. I don't care. I don't care. Say to me, I'm wearing the same clothes, so what? Well, I'm going to go into Israf, I'm going to try and change my clothes every time I go to a wedding, wear something different, never wear it again in another wedding. Right? Okay, then okay, on the Mendi, they have customs. Now, again, please differentiate between customs and Islam. These are fully customs. They don't have to be there, and if you're going to do that, then be wary of the fact that Islam never told you to do any of this. Be wary of that fact. And the second thing is, sometimes there's free mixing in those, sometimes there's an Islamic practice. If there's un-Islamic practices, you are responsible for that as the people who have organized this. The actual wedding day comes, and the amount of stuff they have. I mean, I was in one wedding where I performed the nikah, and I sat at the table. They calculated at the table that within 4 hours the guy has spent £50,000. What? I just can't get my head around it. They calculated the hire of the hall, the kind of food that he had, the decoration, the chairs, the hiring of whatever he hired outside to carry them. They calculated all the arrangements they did, and they knew because they were family members, and they said this is how much he spent for this wedding, £50,000. I'll tell you, brother and sister, and I'm telling all your parents, the simplest way to get married is what? To go and hire, do it in your homes. The simplest way to get married. People can't find halls. They say, I can't find a hall, and I'm basically, we've been looking for halls. Right? The simplest thing to do it in your house. Your back garden, get a marquee. People do this. People have started doing this, right? Back garden, get a marquee, right? And have your wedding over 3 days. You can't fit everyone in your house in 1 day, fine. Don't fit them in your house in 1 day. Fit them over 3 days. Have 6 meals. Different people every meal. So it's a simple solution. I'm telling you, and cook in your back garden, or cook from outside, from some family you can cook, bring it together. You'll save on a lot of costs. It's a brilliant idea. In the marquee, you have chairs there, tables there. You could probably fit about 30, 40, 50 people in the garden. You want to call how many? You want to call 300 people, right? 6 meals, you've got your 300 people inside there. You call one group at lunch, is there embarrassment? There's no embarrassment in that. Just call them. Do it. Okay, you want to go next door. You don't want to put yourself through that? Okay, fine, brother, I understand, yeah? Go and do it in the masjid. Do it in the masjid. I had both my things, the nikah and the walima, I had both at the masjid. I think the time I got married in 2000, alhamdulillah, I didn't pay, from my side that is, from my walima that I arranged, I didn't pay more than £1,000. Alhamdulillah. And I ask you, stay in masjid. Masjids have got holes inside, holes next to them, hide them out. If you can't fit people in one go, fit them 2 times around. There's no shame in that. If people say to you, shame, tell them, I said, shame on them for spending 50k somewhere else, spending 20k somewhere else. Shame on you, bruv. Tell them on their face. Shame on you when you could have spent £2,000. You spent £20,000 just for what? The difference is, look, I'm on a chair right now, yeah? The difference is that chair's going to have a bit more cushion to it. 1 more centimeter. That chair, this chair's black, that one's going to be red. Ha ha. This hole is got this carpet like this, right? Just normal green carpet. That hole is just kind of red carpet. Big deal. Red carpet I can buy when I go to copyright. I can put it in my house, put it in my marquee in back garden. You're so stuck about red carpet, bring in the masjid and roll it out. Right? What is it? The food. The food, yeah? You can cook yourself. You know it. Why spend on caterers? Some of them, honestly, without iman, without, salah, cooking that food, and you're going to feed all those people. And then on the day, my God, I've been to so many weddings, right? You get there and everyone's the boss. That's the worst thing, man. My God. When I do a nikah, I always have to ask, I say, who's in charge? Just give me one name, who's in charge? I say, I'm in charge. Oh, he's in charge. No, none of that business. They tell me one person who's in charge. Because the thing is, the person who's in charge, if you get one person who's in charge, okay, the rest of them are going to be grumbling. They're going to be mumbling. What happens after that is what? You get to the wedding hall. There's some people, look, please respect. Don't respect Allah. Please respect Allah and please respect Allah's Messenger. Don't start your wedding by doing something un-Islamic. Sometimes I go to somebody, I have to now say, are you going to have, music there? Sometimes what they do, just to respect me, they might switch it off. As soon as I'm out, they put it back on. Fine, at least that's some form of respect. Some of them, the doof, daf, dum, boom, 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 right, going on, right? Oh, you telling me that angels are going to come to over there? Some of them, they're just about for the nikah, they stop. For the nikah, they'll stop and they'll carry on. Next thing is the free mixing. And there's people going to the wedding for what? They want to advertise themselves. They want to look for other brides. They want to look for brides for their sons. My God, it becomes like a market. You come to a market, come on, I didn't want this. So they come and they're basically looking at each other and they're committing their lustful, another, so on. But anyway, the poor guy and the poor girl, they have to put up with all this custom. You don't have to go through all of these, brothers and sisters. If you want, please, do this one thing for me. You are the new generation. I'm talking to most of you here who are young, who haven't got married, yeah? Make a change. Make a change by telling them that I don't want this. If they don't want to respect you for it, yeah, you can put your foot down. You can put your foot down. If they're desperate to get you married, say, on my conditions. On my conditions. If they're desperate to get you married to so-and-so, say, on my conditions, just tell them. And I'm telling you, they'll come around it. They'll come around it. Now we come to a part, and I think it's important for us to cover about those brothers and some brothers and sisters who are already married, or who are just newly married. Now what's important is, if you look at slide number 20, page number 5. Slide 20, page 5. In early marriage, try and decide how you're going to settle your arguments. It's really important to do that. And the best way, as I said, is Quran Sunnah. Best way is, if you've got a good imam, if you're ever going to have a big dispute, then you go to that imam. But most of the time, you don't even have to go outside the house. If you're a good couple, you can sort out most of your problems inside your house, just between you and her. How you basically follow the Quran Sunnah. What does the Quran Sunnah say? Well, if you're angry and you're standing, sit down. If you're sitting and you're angry, lie down. If you're lying and you're still angry, go and do wudu. I'll tell you one, this is obviously from the Sunnah. Say A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajim. And if you still sort of angry, personal advice I can give you is just don't talk while you're angry. Try and allow yourself to go away. Just go out the house. Just spend a bit of time outside the house. It's better. It's better than you say things while you're angry and you make things worse. Go to the masjid. Best place you can go when you're angry and things are hot in the house, go to the masjid. Ahabbul bilad ila Allah. The most beloved of places to Allah is the masjid. Go there, put your head on the floor in sujood and be with the Rahman. Ask him, supplicate. This is to the men I'm saying. To To the women, again, if you can't get onto a musalla in your house, if you can't go to the masjid, then go to the masjid. Let a night at least go by. Let 2 nights go by, 3 nights go by maximum. You will not feel the same even by the next morning. You will not feel the same. Then talk with a calm mind. Agree on these terms at the beginning of the marriage. You will have a blissful marriage. Even if you haven't, please do this now in your marriage. You will make your marriage a lot more prosperous. Let's say, for example, one thing I have to say really, please, is that the more marriage goes on, the more used to you become to each other. You become like part of furniture in the house. Part of furniture, you never notice it. Well, you're not going to notice your wife after a little while. And she's not going to notice you after a little while. Yeah? Now you need to do certain things to notice each other. You need to do certain things to be different. Now, please, when you get used to each other, sometimes your tone can get quite harsh. And you don't realize it because you've been doing that for such a long time. The warning is that if you carry on doing that, you're going to upset the other person. Please, yourselves right now, think about, am I using a tone that is not appropriate? How is that girl supposed to feel? How is that guy supposed to feel? And end of the day, one thing that will cool you down is, please remember guys, that wife of yours is a daughter of another man. That wife is a daughter of another man. Your daughter will be in the same position in 20 years' time. And by Allah, if you care for your daughter, care for another man's daughter who's in your house. Care for another man's daughter in your house. Because you don't know what situation Allah will put your daughter in tomorrow. It rips a man's heart to hear that his daughter's not well, or his daughter has got complaints in another house. Don't you think it's going to rip your father-in-law's heart to hear about the woes that you've got in your own house? So please, try and deal with them yourselves. Now, we're all humans, we love praise. We love praise. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made us like this. Don't forget to praise one another for the good things. When you live with a person for a long time, you forget to do that. It just becomes natural just to mention the few things that, mistakes and things that we've done wrong and things that we basically hold each other back for. These are easy to bring up. But good things we've done, appreciation, after a long time, we don't do that. So please, try and make it a habit to try and say good things once in a while. Appreciation of what one another is doing. Dua for your spouse. I'm telling you, here in this majlis, there's never a time when I'm making dua for myself that I would not include my wife and my children in my dua. Automatically. I will always do that. It's a given thing. My wife doesn't have to say to me ever, make dua for me, because it's every single time I make dua for her. Even when I'm upset with her, I make dua for her. Sometimes I got really mad. Sometimes your head's boiling. Right? And she's just left with the children because she has to go somewhere, and I say, Hafizah Allah. Even when I'm angry, may Allah protect her, may Allah protect my kids, may Allah put barakah into her, may Allah put barakah into my kids. Even when I'm angry, I still give du'as. Never give the wrong dua from your mouth, because you don't know which time is the time that Allah will accept the dua. If you curse your wife, you curse your husband, you curse your children, and if that's the time of istijaba and acceptance, that dua might strike them and you will regret that for the rest of your life. You won't even know about it, but you will surely be regretting that in the next life. What you do is to please remember, there's some crucial things I'm saying. Yep, still on slide number 20. Find a trusted person that you can talk to when you're in need of a crisis. If you want to do that, you might want to do that early in marriage. It's good to have a good sheikh. If you've got a nice sheikh, someone who's a bit older in their life, someone who's a good scholar, someone who's got good spirituality and so on, if you make them your reference, if we ever have a dispute, we'll take it to them. I'm telling you, you'll never have to do it, but if you have to do it, you'll have your problem sorted out. Please, with business, money and so on, make sure that you make clear agreements. If you have a wife and you continuously now and again giving her some money, she don't have to ask from you, and she doesn't have to steal your pocket money. Some wives have to find reasons to go and steal pocket money, change, loose change from the husband, and later on after 20 days admitted to it. Because they don't want to say at that time, why should a person be in that situation? It's your duty as a man to provide her shelter, to provide her food, and to provide her clothing, according to your level. عَلَى الْمُوسِعِ قَدَرُ وَعَلَى الْمُقْتِرِ قَدَرُ. You're rich, you provide out of your richness. You're poor, you provide out of your poor state. But it's according to your level. Now, if you're always looking after, there's certain things that makes life easy. Tell me this, if you put a bird in a cage and you basically lock it up, or let's say you've got a pet cat, if you always keep the pet cat inside four walls, the day you're going to open that door and lay it outside, is it going to come back? Most likely not. Unless it's really hungry, then probably might come back to you, but still it's going to dread being in those four walls. That bird you let out of the cage is not going to come back, I guarantee you that. But if you say, if the pet knows they can go out and come in, they'll come in when they want, they'll go out when they have to. The same way, if it's human psychology, if you say to your wife, you better write a nice letter to me or your mother-in-law if you want to go and visit your father. Otherwise, you're not getting out of this house. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you say that to her and she has to wait for 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, and then she's got freedom for 1-2 weeks, boy, I tell you, she'll be waiting for those 6 months to pass by, and she'll want to extend those 2 weeks to 2 months if she can. Make excuses. It happens. If you tell your wife, anytime you want, go and visit your father. Anytime you want, go and visit your mother. I'm telling you, there'll be only a few days that your wife will want to go out of your house and visit them. She'll go and visit them. She won't stay there. She won't stay there. Most of the time she'll stay in your house. Why? Because she knows she's got her freedom. Most people make problems because they've made this rule that you have to basically go to darkhast. You have to get my permission, my seal of approval. I have to lick it clean, seal it, prove it, and then you can go. What do you think this is? Some kind of slave that you got inside your house? You know, in certain books of fiqh, you will see that it says it's a right of a woman that she can go and see her family every week if she wants to. Every week if she wants to. But what I'm trying to say is, I'm not trying to cause disputes here. All I'm trying to say is, please, be free, relax. You'll see that she will not spend so much time out there going to her parents. Now, I've said this before, but it's important that I repeat this. Trust is the key. You lose this, then it's game over for marriage. Page 6, slide number 21. There are ways to include, there are ways to make your marriage last better and have happiness. Remember that Allah should be the focus. So do you have ta'aleem in your house? It's a simple thing. Now and again, mention Allah and His Messenger, read hadith, take the book of Riyadh al-Salihin, read it between yourselves. Is your wife reading Islamic books? Is the husband reading Islamic books? It's important that that happens. If you're going to make a life, and that whole life is every time you get 2 hours or 3 hours, you're always watching a film in front of the TV, and that's your relaxation time, I'm telling you that after a while, you're going to start getting fed up with one another. And when an argument starts, the only thing you've got in your head are those films, and how they argued on those films, and how lovely that man was with his wife on the film, or in EastEnders, or in Neighborhood, whatever it is, right? And you're looking at your wife thinking, why are you so sweet as that girl on TV? And she's thinking, why are you so good looking at that girl on that TV? It's in the back of the head, it's in the subconscious mind. They're seen as lovely, you know, life is not a TV show, and life is not a fairy tale. Life is serious stuff. Life is not full of these people who can just act for you on TV. But what will happen if you carry on watching TV, you get an impression of how life should be, and you expect it. Your marriage shouldn't be ruined because of others. You are who you are. And the best thing is, when you've got arguments, there should be some hadith in your mind, there should be some Quran in your mind, there should be dhikr in the house. These things will make your house prosperous. Salah should be there. If you haven't got these things, then when arguments happen, they're going to be looking at their nafs, their ego. They're not going to be looking at Allah. Now, give surprises. Hadiyah. Don't, I know some people, Some people, they think that hadiyah, wives make a big issue about the anniversary. You forgot my anniversary. Oh my God, I'm sharpening my knife for you. Come on. Yeah? What anniversary? Give her hadiyah as many times as you want, without an occasion. Without an occasion. And you see, she'll be happy. Give her money, give her items, give her gifts. And let her do that with her husband. She should cook him nice a dish. My husband likes his dish, cook it for him. He likes cakes, bake it for him. Right? It'll keep the marriage going nice. She likes flowers, bring it for her. And you're probably thinking, where's the sunnah for that? Where's the sunnah for that? We're not going to find flowers in the hadith, because in Medina you hardly see any flowers, right? Right? Medina, do they have nice greenness? They're dying for water over there, right? But what do you take from the sunnah? The sunnah is when Rasulullah ﷺ used to come and see Aisha, he used to have a smile on his face. He used to talk to her nicely. He used to give gifts. She used to make his lovely food for him. They knew that his favorite food was what? The shoulder of a lamb. So they used with all the others, they used to save that for Prophet ﷺ, so that he could eat the shoulder piece. Doing these acts is nice. Buying gifts throughout the year. Now, if you go next slide, make a shura in the house. Consult your wife when you're doing something. Consult your husband when you're doing something. Don't do it on your own all the time. If you have this understanding, it's good. Some men, honestly, I'm telling you, you go down this street here, yeah, and I've seen it in all the sort of Asian places. The man is walking and the woman is walking, their husband and wife, but there's a 5-meter gap between them. The man is ahead 5 meters and he's still talking to her. He's still talking to her. And she has to stay, good few strides behind him, because if she goes ahead of him, my God, she probably might not ever see daylight again. And what kind of life is that? So what if you walk together? In hadith, I'm telling you, hadith, I don't know what we made our culture, but hadith, Rasulullah ﷺ used to go with his wives to gardens. It's like going to a park. You're not going to do anything haram. You're with your wife. She's your mahram. You're going just for a stroll in the park. It's in hadith, please. If there's anyone, Maulana Zahir, tell me if I'm saying something wrong. He came once with his 2 wives and it was getting dark, and some sahabis saw him and he said, it's only me and my wife so-and-so and so-and-so. They said, Messenger of Allah, we wouldn't think that you're with another woman. He said, ittaqu mawadi'at tuham. Stay away from places where you could get accused of something. He was on this occasion, he said, he was coming back with them after he was taking a walk with them. Rasulullah ﷺ used to do that. What's wrong with doing that? What's wrong with walking with your wife? Walking together. He was together with them. It wasn't like they saw him and then a few seconds later they saw her. It wasn't that. The sunnah is, okay, you walk with them. There's nothing wrong with that. So, make shura and have, when you learn, what most guys want to do or most girls want to do is they want to know what their rights are. But they don't want to know what the rights of the other person are. They don't want to know those rights. And it's a serious matter. Please get to know your own rights, fine, but get to know his rights. And it's not about you getting your own rights, it's about giving him his rights as well. Now, I've talked about the next point. Now it says here, the best sadaqah, it's a hadith of Muslim. The best sadaqah a person can spend is the sadaqah on their own family. Please remember that. It's a sadaqah. Go doing some good shopping, buying some extra stuff for your home, for them to eat, clothes for them, gifts for them. It's a sadaqah. Some guys don't see that as a sadaqah. This is a hadith in Muslim. Afdalus sadaqah. Sadaqah يتصدقها على أهلي أو على عيالي. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that. Page 6 and slide number 22. Now, sleeping with your wife, it's a reward. It's a reward. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that it's a sadaqah. They said, Messenger of Allah, what are you saying? That I sleep with my wife by night, basically they have intercourse, and you telling me I'm getting reward for that? I'm actually equivalent to charity? He said, don't you see that if he slept with the wrong woman, or if he put that in the wrong place, it would be a sin for him? They said, yes. He said, same way, if he sleeps with her, and it's his wife, it's a halal thing, it's reward. If you look in the ahadith, now I haven't got time to go into this. Aisha radiallahu anha, her mother says, when we used to sleep together, he used to foreplay with me, I used to foreplay with him in bed. These are sunnah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, don't approach one of your wives like animals approach other animals. You have a heated argument with your wife and then you jump on her at night time. Just jump on her just like an animal would just jump on another animal. That's not, is it hadith? These are words of hadith. Words of hadith. Now take heed. You know, there has to be foreplay, there has to be emotions there has to be love there. And there's nothing wrong with them sleeping with one another and sleeping again and again with one another. And if you look in Sahih Muslim, there is the Sahaba's form of contraception, which is what? Which is that they used to have coitus interruptus, which is what? Is that the male would pull out his private part before he would ejaculate. So he would ejaculate outside, and they wouldn't have children. He said, Jabir radiallahu anhu said, Kunna na'zil wal Qur'anu yanzil. Or yunzal. When we were inside, we were in the time when we were doing this action, the Qur'an was still coming. There was no reprimanding from Allah of doing this. So, if a couple want to be together like this, and night after night they want to sleep with one another, then be it. Now again, people ask, how often should you sleep with one another like this? It depends upon you. It depends upon you. Don't overdo it. Otherwise you're going to be basically, struggling down the stairs. Right? But don't even be like those people who basically make it, every Friday we get together. Saturday no, Sunday no, Monday no, Friday yes. I mean, come on man, get a life. And some women, they make an issue about my hair's going to be wet, I have to basically dry, I have to drop the kids off at school and this and that. Come on! The man's got desire. The man has to let you out. I'm saying something serious. I'm telling you, your imams won't talk about this on the minbar. But I need to say to you, because it's a serious crisis out there. The woman says, only on certain nights, so I'm not in the mood, or this and that. Okay, fine, if she's not in the mood and she's seriously not in the mood, then don't, guys, like Rasulullah said, don't approach, your wives like animals approach animals. Don't do that. That's the wrong thing to do. But hang on a minute. If she's saying that I'm the only wife you're going to have, one of my teachers said, he said a wonderful thing. He said, when you're marrying a woman from this country, she makes sure that you say a new shahada before you get married. What's that shahada? She says, say this. Say that you witness that I am wahdaha la sharikata laha. I am the only wife you're going to have. I've got no partners. Allah has no partners, I have no partners. And she makes you say that before you get married to her. Because she's not going to accept you with another wife. Okay, fine. Now, sister, you said that I'm not going to, marry again. Fine, if I've agreed that with you, if you've got a mutual agreement between ourselves, then when a man's got pleasure and he's got, he needs to fulfill his desire, she should make the effort. And sometimes when she's got the desire, he should make the effort. That should happen. Because otherwise, the guy is going to start looking elsewhere. Then when he comes home one day and says, we've been married for long, I think I could get a sister that could help you in the house, another one. Yeah, you want to get a sister? Yeah, no, I'm talking about pay, I'm talking about, another wife, When he says that, don't blame him. When he's basically, if there's some guys, honestly, they can't fulfill their shahwa with their wife and they end up doing haram. They're either on internet, browsing on haram things. Some guys have a problem anyway, right? They're just messed up because they've been watching too many wrong films. Some guys are messed up because they've been watching the wrong films, and that's why the whole mind is messed up. But some people, and it's wrong still. It's wrong if your wife hasn't made you fulfill your pleasure and you're going onto the internet to look at, pornography, whatever it is, you are still accountable on the Day of Judgment. Don't make no excuse. But there are people who are doing that. There are people who are on the streets, they can't control their eyes, they can't control themselves because she's not fulfilling his rights and he can't find a way out and they're just stuck in the middle sandwich. But anyway, making jokes, cracking jokes, sending even love letters. I've written this in the thing, PowerPoint. Why? Because these things liven the whole marriage up. Send cards to one another. Go on holidays. Take a break. Rasulullah's holiday with his wife was what? He used to take him on jihad expeditions. He used to choose, he used to have a ballot system. Which wife is going to go on him with the journey on this journey of jihad? It's in hadith. It's like a little break for them. I'm not saying it's like a holiday, but it's like a break for them outside the house, outside the norm. We'll try and make an outside of the norm for them as well. Say salam when you come home, smile when you come home, forgive easily and don't hold grudges. You know, some guys, they're really horrible because they've got hard hearts. And some women are like that. Some women, they've got hard hearts, I'm telling you. They can't forgive so easily, and it makes life really difficult. Okay, now we're nearing to time. We've got quite a few questions, and I've got few. I'll see how much of this I want to cover. They're all important points. Now, guys, if you don't get the chance, if I don't get the chance to cover all of this, you can just read some of these points, and you can just get the message that I'm trying to give you. So, slide number 24. It's not about what happens; is how you deal with things. Don't try and aim for conflict. Try and turn to Allah, like I've said. The word talaq, never, ever, 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 ever use. I put so many evers there because the amount of people that come to you and they say, I was angry, I didn't know what I was saying, it was the heat of the moment, I can't remember fully, and please there must be a way out, and the people are looking for, and then they'll go to find opinions about 3 talaqs being 1 talaq and all that. Just don't use that word, please. Take it out of the dictionary. What you do is, if you're seriously considering it, go and see an imam. Go and consult him. And what he will tell you is, he will try and look for every avenue to try and secure the marriage, save the marriage, then to go into talaq. And even if he was to ever come to that decision of giving talaq, he will only tell you to give maybe khula first, give a separation. Or he will say to you, just give talaq once, that's it. That is the sunnah. But no more than that. And that would be even after every possible way of trying to secure and save the marriage. Okay? If you go to the next page, page 7, slide 25, look at positives in one another. Don't look at negatives. The intention shouldn't be just picking on faults. The intention should be looking for a good solution. If your partner is ever really silent, you should know that either everything's going right or there's something wrong. So bear that in mind. Sometimes what concerns you, and you think that's my concern, might not be the concern of your partner. Please remember that. They have different concerns. If you hear rumors about one another, just get to the source first. Don't act upon rumors. Don't act upon those. Some marriages have ended because there's been a rumor. And the rumor got so bad because the rumor turned into gossip, and the gossip turned to facts, and the facts turned to Chinese whispers, and Chinese whispers, everyone added a bit of butter on it. Whoever came marmalade, butter, whatever, became a sandwich that was so big, when the guy took it in his mouth, he basically choked on it. Sometimes it happens that people make things up. Get to the source. Allah says, فَتَبَيَّنُوا أَن تُصِيبُوا قَوْمًا بِجَهَالَةٍ. Investigate before you affect people out of ignorance. Slide 26. Arguments will happen. Never think arguments will never happen in marriage. There's never been a marriage without argument. Even Rasulullah ﷺ has had differences. Once he had to stay 29 days away from his wives. It's in hadith, Sahih hadith, or Bukhari even. 29 days he stayed away, he was angry with them. But it's how he dealt with them. He never hit them. Now one thing I'll say to you, please. If a man thinks that he is going to sort his marriage out by just beating his wife, he's a coward. He's a coward. And if I know who that man is, and if I get the chance, I'll beat him up. Because it's just, why are you hitting a woman? You know that you can overpower her anyway. Why are you doing that? Because you're a coward. And what I'm saying coward is because you could have dealt with that in so many other ways. You could have done what Rasulullah ﷺ did, which was that, look, there's a process. Looking later on, I want you to look in Surah An-Nisa, verse number 34. Allah says a process there. And the process is that you take it step by step. And the best, Rasulullah ﷺ said what? He said, خِيَارُكُمْ خِيَارُكُمْ لِأَهْلِ. He said, the best of you are the best to your families, to your wives. I said, I am the best to my wives. I'm the best amongst you to my wives. So what's the best thing? Is that you show, if your wife is upsetting you, you don't have to hit her. You can use counseling. You can use advice. You can say good words. And if that's not working, you can basically show some emotional separation. You can emotionally become cold with them. And it works. I'm telling you, even with strong women, it works. Emotionally, you move it. Like Rasulullah did that. When he heard the rumors about Aisha radiallahu anha, and about the ifk, and she was accused of sleeping with another man. It wasn't true, and Allah acquitted her in the end. But when he heard that, he became emotionally distant from her. And she says that in the hadith of Bukhari. He stopped coming to me the way he used to come. His cheerfulness, the way he used to sit with me, the way he used to talk with me, it all changed. Because this was a serious matter, and Rasulullah was asking her, did anything happen, and so on. But this is the sunnah. And he used that. Now, when he got really serious near the end of his life, and said the 29 days he stayed separate from his wives, and Sayyidina Umar came right into his house where he was staying. He was next to the house of Hafsa radiallahu anha. He was up upstairs, and Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu went there, and he said, "Is it true that I've heard rumors that you divorced your wives?" And he said, "It's not true." Otherwise, he was going to go to Hafsa straight away, and he would have, Sayyidina Umar, what he would have done to his daughter. And say that Abu Bakr was ready to do what he wanted to do with Aisha. And then, the verses came. The verses came and things were sorted out. But he stayed separate from them. He separated his bedside from them. And that's a big effect. There's a big effect. If your woman, look, put it this way, guys, here. If a woman loves you, and if you created the platform of love, and you show some deprivation emotionally, she will always come back to you. She will always come back to you. But if you're good for nothing, and you're rotten vegetable at home, and you show some emotional, distance, she'll say, "MashaAllah, Alhamdulillah." He's gone. Yeah. So don't forget, when you try that, you've got to do the other sunnah. The other sunnah is, he showed so much love before that, so much care, so much affection to his wives. They never had any complaints about it. One of the things that, Michael Hart said in his book about the 100 most influential people in history. When you read what he said about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and his point of why he put Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as number one is, if you read it, it's a wonderful piece here. It's about 7 pages only. And he says that most great men, when you look at their lives, they've done great things outside. But if you were to look at the private lives, you will find that there's this or that said about them. But he said Muhammad is the only one that when you look at his private life, when his wives are talking about him, there's nothing wrong that they say about him, subhanAllah. They talk so wonderfully about him. And that's what he did. And then when he showed them emotional deprivation, they felt it. And they wanted Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Allah said, "Ya nisa an-nabi," O wives of the Prophet, "In kuntunna turidna Allah wa Rasulah." If you want Allah and His Messenger to come here, if you want the world, and the Prophet will let you go in a nice way, sarahan jamila. But if you want Allah's Messenger, then stay this way. And they were given certain orders in the Quran. I'm not going to get to that. Anyway, I think we're never going to get to the end of this question. I did tell the brothers to give me more time, by the way, and they were trying to give me less time. But anyway, bi'idhnillah,
look at the numbers.
This is prioritized, yes?
These ones came later on, so...
Alright, I will try and... I'll try and get... Look, there's about 15 minutes till 1:15. We said we'll start the Jama'at 1:15, inshallah. So I'll try my best to get whatever I can through. So, if one has spoken to parents regarding marriage and they are making excuses such as get a proper job, even though one has one, what steps should the individual take without being disrespectful to his parents? Look, some questions, I'll be honest with you, unless you get the whole scenario. That's what I'm saying. A lot of these things you have to go to imams for. Why? Because I need to ask this person, their parents, what are they? What's their background? What's their background in education? And what efforts has he made? What exact efforts has he made? Is it something in the back of their mind they've got against him? They're just trying to make an excuse for him to just go. Sometimes people do that. They make they make excuses. But are they really serious? Go and get a real job. Then we'll give you. If they're serious, and he's trying his best, then let him wait. But my advice to the parents would be is, look, listen to the Prophet ﷺ. If he's a good man of taqwa, just marry your daughter off. Because some guys, I'll be honest with you, some parents, they've lost the plot. They think the guy has to have a job in order for their daughter to be happy. You've lost the plot, because your daughter will bring her rizq with her when she goes to that man. Your daughter's rizq is written by Allah. His rizq is written by Allah. Are you trying to tell me that you give your daughter? I'm saying, look, if he's a good guy, he's got nice taqwa, he's got nice deen, right? He's everything else good, but the only thing he doesn't have is a job at this moment. But you know that he's a person who will work. He's not lazy. He's not sitting on benefits all his life, right? Waiting for the next dole, waiting for the next government to vote him for a bit bigger, higher price. It's not that. He's a decent person. Look, I'll be honest with you, with myself, when I got married, I didn't have a penny. And I looked at Allah, and I didn't even have a place to take my wife. And Allah provided that. I'm telling you, Allah will provide you, because you've got your own rizq, but your wife has got her portion of a rizq. When you get together, you've got two rizq. You've got double the rizq. And Allah will show you. Tell me this, guys, how many of us were fortunate when we got married? As we are today after 10 years or 12 years, yeah? Right? Some of you are nodding your head, you're ready. Where does it come from? Allah gives it to you. So if that's the only thing, please go and tell your parents that Allah will provide. Leave it to Allah. Don't, scratch your heads, till you start bleeding to think about how you're going to provide your daughter. What if your first wife is not happy with you marrying again? Can you go ahead and marry a second woman? Oh, I love this. For me to answer this one, I need a lot of minutes. Again, I need to ask you what she's not happy with you for. Your first wife's not happy, so she's not happy with you to get married again. Why? There's a reason why. Why is it? You need to explain that. But let's just say if a guy did get married, I'll be honest with you, look, your nikah will be done. You don't need permission, fine. But you may ruin your life. You may absolutely ruin your life. And I've had cases where women, just by hearing that their husband might marry someone else, I'm not giving you sisters' ideas, yeah? But I've heard that the woman, has taken an overdose and ended up in hospital. Woman has dropped herself down the stairs and, broken something, things that they might do to try and get the attention of you. But not just that, but I've heard serious more cases that she's basically taken the children away. She's filed for a divorce. She's changed the locks of the door. The guy comes, his key's not working anymore, There's cases. Worst case scenario, the one I heard is that, yeah, she put petrol on the bed, 3 a.m. in the morning, and she set it alight. It was happening in South London, in a Muslim family house. Yeah, the worst case scenario now. Again, horrible things, but the thing is, you need to seriously assess the situation. I tell you, brothers, look, one thing is, if you've got a good wife and she's trying to satisfy you to the best of what she can do, and the only thing is a dream to have another wife, and there's no real necessity, or there is a necessity, but you just, if you sleep with your wife now and again, that necessity is under control. And what I would say to you is, the way to control yourself, if you think that another wife will come and ruin your life, and ruin your other wife as well, wife and life, then what you do is you get into dhikr. You get into dhikr. Dhikr calms the mind, it revives the soul, it kills off the ego, or reduces the power of the ego. Dhikr, and for the dhikr, I ain't got time to go into this right now, but dhikr, there are different forms of dhikr. One good one is to send salutations on the Prophet ﷺ. Get into some serious dhikr, and you'll find that your own shahwa level or your desire level inside you will start going down automatically. And I'm talking to you from not only experience, but what I've given to other brothers out there as well. There's one way out of the situation, because out of every, I don't know how many people, there are only few people, only very selected few people that I know that have got married second time in this country and who've managed to secure their marriage with the first wife. Most of the ones I know have ended up in disruption. There are arguments and arguments after arguments, and so bitter that they've just separated. Okay? But again, look, some of you might be lucky. Yeah, good luck. Yeah, if you can get over the first one, good luck. If you can't, then please don't blame anyone but yourself. Again, about parents, how do you explain to your parents that you wish to get married even though you have brothers and sisters older than you are? This is a nice case. I like that question, yeah? Sometimes you got to wait. You're 21 years old. You got brother number 1, 29 years old, hasn't got married. Brother number 2, 27 years old. Brother number 3, 23 years old. Brother number 4, that's 22. And then you're 21. You think, my God, by the time they get married, I'm going to have white hairs coming out my head. You think, what kind of situation is, why is it that you have to get them married in the same order? So what, if you get them married one before the other, it doesn't matter. It's not the end of life. Come on guys, let's be honest with you. Is everything in life in the right order of the children do? What, are you going to do that for your children, for everything? For everything? The first one has to open his business before you open your business. Otherwise, you got no permission from me as dad to open your business. When do you ever say that to your kids? If son number 3 comes up with a nice business, you all enjoy it. Yes? Well, son number 3 needs to get married, or son number 5 needs to get married. Get him married first. And people who say shame on you, say shame on them. Say, look, your son, you know it, he's knocking it off behind the restaurant somewhere. You know it, my friend, you know it. There's musallis that come to the mosque and say, I've seen your son behind there with a woman there, offering there, so up to something. And you ignore that. You know they're into it. Shame on you for accepting zina. Accepting zina, and this happens in many cases I've heard. But they won't get it because of cultural shame. Cultural shame is, if they get son number 4 married before son number 3, then it's going to basically have a big effect. That's why they won't do that. Now I'd say to you, simple is that, you basically have to go and convince them. If you can't convince them, get your imam with you. If your imam is not going to come with you, then sometimes, honestly, if everything's right, you just have to go and do it. If you take the right advice from the imam, again, please consult the imams. If they tell you religiously you're not doing anything wrong, if the girl is completely fine and everything is right and all that, and her father has agreed and all of that kind of business, the only thing is your side is not agreeing because they need to get these other brothers of yours married off, then sometimes the only way to get to the other side of not committing zina is to do the halal way and just get married. They'll come over it. Now, I'm not telling all of you to do this, please, because there's a lot of dangers in this. If you can't stand on your legs, don't come crying to me tomorrow. You've got to stand on your legs. If you're going to go against your culture, they could boycott you, and there could be some serious consequences. Now, when people come to me, there's a number of questions I ask. The one question that I ask is, if they're going to go against their own parents and they're going to go ahead with the nikah, there's a number of questions I ask. And not everyone will I give advice to of this. So please, take, these are some serious, it's a serious matter. If you can get your parents on your side, please, that's the best thing that you can do. Please do that. And parents need to be understanding. But if the guy is in a crisis, please think about it. He's committing zina. He's going to go to Jahannam. He's killing him inside. His iman is telling him one thing, his body is doing another thing. He's killing him. And you're telling him he can't get married for another 7 years. If that. 7 years he's got to wait. And you're also happy with the fact that I'm talking about this scenario where it's a girl that you would actually accept. But the only thing is that the time hasn't come right because your other sons haven't got married. Now, if you're absolutely sure, and you have to talk to your imams about this, please, and they have to give you sound advice on this. Are you going to look after that girl? If something goes wrong tomorrow, are you going to just leave her? Are you going to give her proper shelter? Have you got that shelter to provide her from your own means? Are you going to give it to her? Are you going to, if pressure comes to you tomorrow, are you going to break? Is she going to break? If any of these things come negative, then forget it. Don't do it. Because the last thing you want to do is get married to a girl and then just leave her. And some brothers have done this. They've gone ahead, taken advice, got married, and then they've just left the girl after consummating the marriage, and now they've broken her virginity, and after that, after 1 year of having a secret marriage, they've left her. Or get married to her and then just say, it's not working out. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't spoil a person's life just because of a few bit of desire that you've got inside you. But if it's only that you're going to save yourself Jahannam, and she wants to save herself from Jahannam, and you've spoken to your Imam, again I'm repeating this, speak to a nice Imam who's going to give you sound advice, and they give you advice to go ahead or whatever, and you do go ahead, then you save yourself from Jahannam. It's better than going towards Jahannam just because your parents can't get over it. Are we allowed to celebrate anniversaries? If not, let's just leave that, please. Let's talk about actual marriage itself. If you marry a revert, what kind of character should we develop? Please consider the fact that usually they break ties with their families for this marriage in Islam. Okay, there are some brothers who want to get married to revert sisters. Some sisters want to get married to revert brothers. Again, do remember that they've got a lot of, they're going to come with a lot of burden. You've got to be able to take all of that. It's not just that you get married to her and that's it. I know some brothers are, it's a big sadaqah, it's a big charity, it's a big reward to do this, because that sister most probably will not have anyone else to look after her. And if you do that, then alhamdulillah, mashallah. But please, remember the advice I can give you is that you, look, when you're saying in the nikah, when you say that qabiltuha, qabiltuhu, I have accepted her, I have accepted him, it means I have accepted her as a full her. It means her body, her soul. It means her financial affairs. It means her domestic affairs. It means her happiness. It means looking after her when she's sorrowful. It means when she's in a crisis, any type of crisis. It means when she's going to be pregnant and she's going to start puking up, I'm going to look after her. It means when she's coming to the pains of labor, I'm going to look after her. It means when she's delivered and she's basically, drained out, I'm going to look after her. It means when she's sick and ill, I'm going to look after her. It means when she can't look after the children, I'm going to look after her and the kid, and the kids that come after her. And she's saying the same thing about you. In all your affairs, ups and downs of marriage, that's what it means. It's a serious commitment. So it's not just like I'm accepting her for tonight and 1 month, and sit after that, happily live after, and if it doesn't happen, then I'll change my mind. It doesn't mean that. Marriage is something that you have to have a niyyah until death departs you. You can't have a temporary marriage or check it out, If it works out. If it doesn't work out, then, we change each other. It doesn't work like that. Okay, so I hope you prioritize these. I'm just going through them one by one as they come. You mentioned earlier that the Prophet ﷺ used to recite 3 verses during a nikah. You mentioned one Surah Nisa, what are the others? The other 2 are one in Surah Al Imran, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu taqullah haqqa tuqati wa la tamutunna illa wa antum muslimun. O you who believe, be aware of Allah, be conscious of Allah as you ought to be conscious of Allah, as you ought to fear Him. And do not die unless you're in the state of submission. And why the Prophet ﷺ, you would recite this is because it's a serious commitment. You're doing this out of submission. One shaykh was asked at a marriage, what advice can you give? And he thought for a long while and he said 2 words. And they were very powerful words. What advice can you give us? And he said 2 words. He said, be Muslim. Be Muslim. What does Muslim mean? Muslim is you've submitted to Allah. If both of you submit to Allah and Allah is your source, then you will not have, even through your ups and downs, you will survive the marriage. Because you're Muslim, the proper Muslim. You've submitted to Allah. The 3rd verse is the one in Surah Ahzab near the end. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu taqullah wa qulu qawlan sadida. O you who believe, be conscious of Allah, be aware of Allah, fear Allah, whatever the translation you want to take. All of them are befitting for this. وَقُولُوا قَوْلًا, be upright in your speech, because you're making this contract. يُصْلِحْ لَكُمْ أَعْمَالَكُمْ. If you're upright in your speech, Allah will rectify your deeds. And Allah will forgive your sins. And whosoever will obey Allah and His Messenger, he has gained a truly great success that he's gained. Perhaps the last question, sites that promote halal, is that permissible in Islam? Sites such as Shadi.com, Single Muslim Extra. Okay, look, you go into these sites on the internet, and some people have to go there because they just don't know any other avenues to try and find someone. And some people have found successful marriages through this. Some people have gone through the Muslim seminar marriages. Some people go to mosques and so on. You know, it would be wonderful if every masjid could have a service that would liaise with all the other masjids and have a contact. Now, if some of you brothers have got the time to do this, please get up and do this. Every mosque should have, just like we have a funeral service. And what do you do with the funeral service? You got A to Z. You come there, they'll take the body, they'll provide, you know, they'll book the cemetery place, they'll get the green certificate, they'll do everything for you, they'll wash the body, they'll do the janazah, you pray the janazah namaz, they go there, they bury it, and that's it. They'll do all of it. One package. So, mosques should have a marriage wing. You go there, you give your name, you give all your details, they know who all your mahrams are, they know who to contact, and they should have a database that is connected to all the other masajid. So, you're looking for a potential 24-year-old, blah, 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 this, that, blue-eyed, green-toothed, whatever, monster, right? So they'll find someone, whoever in another masjid who has that, whatever it is you're looking for. If a big network, a database is built, subhanAllah, it will bring a lot more unity throughout our mosque, which we need already. You know what I'm saying, like guys? Yeah, we need already. And it will be like, okay, fine, you got a database. If they're all a database, you need one site for this. And what needs to happen is actual meetings. So for instance, someone in Exeter, you know, we find out this. So if you want to visit them, here's the mahram. Go and see his father. Go and contact him. Here's the details. So they just leave it to them. Mosque don't have to do anything. Mosque just needs to know 2 mahrams, 2 family members. Okay, you and your daughter, you and your son, here. Don't ask us anything more. Go ahead. If you like it, go and make your arrangements. But here's all the database, all the list that we've got for people. Because we haven't done this, people have to now go to the internet sites. Most of them are not regulated. They're not regulated of how they run. Some of them you can go there, click there, see the sister's picture straight away, then you and her in a chat room somewhere. My God, you're causing haram straight away. If you're going to get in a chat room, start emailing her, it's not allowed. You're supposed to go through the mahram of the woman. Because there are also loose things that can happen, like I've said before in this talk. But I wish one of you guys, inshallah, will do that. Just make make one site where you can have a database, all the mosques can join on to it, inshallah, and we can make life easy for all those people who can't find potential spouses. Anyway, jazakumullahu khair. I know there are all these other questions. I'd love to finish them off, but we said 8:15 we'll start the Jama'ah, so it's 8:15 now and we'll stop here. Jazakumullahu khair.